Aurora, pretending to play nice with Umbridge is draining the life out of us. Harry and I need to recharge. The two of them closed in on me, one on each side. Don't ask me what they were planning, I couldn't even say it aloud. Fifth year potions was no joke. It decided the career path for every student after graduation. Only those who scored well on the Eau de Wells could continue on to the Newt, and Snape's standards were the highest of all. His grading was ruthless, enough to make plenty of students quit before they even tried. But if you wanted to be an or a potioneer, passing Newt-level potions was non-negotiable. If you three don't score outstanding on your Eau de Wells, Snape declared, don't even think about sitting my Newt class. And with that, he swept out of the room. I knew he meant every word. He just loves scaring us, Draco muttered, tugging my collar higher. You'll mummify me at this rate, I protested. It was only the start of autumn, yet I had to cover myself in long sleeves and trousers, hiding every mark. Sometimes I wonder if you two do it on purpose. Everything came double the marks, double the exhaustion, double the happiness. Aurora, where did your mind wander this time? Draco teased, though he knew perfectly well. After all this time, and you're still this easy to fluster, Harry added. You too, Hermione's sharp voice cut in. If Aurora doesn't walk away with 12 OS, the rest of your lives are going to be very unpleasant. That warning at last sobered them both. Exactly. Right on the mark. The two boys' expressions shifted, and they finally gave up trying to tease me. Aura, I'm fairly confident in other subjects, but when it comes to defense against the dark arts, I just don't feel prepared, Hermione admitted. Honestly, neither do we confessed, sharing our anxieties openly. Umbridge is almost provoking public outrage because her lessons lack practical exercises. Many parents have banded together to complain to the ministry, but complaints against the deputy minister? How could they ever reach Cornelius Fudge? Hermione scoffed. Her cold expression was startlingly similar to Draco's haughty demeanor. Despite their completely different backgrounds and even being rivals in the original timeline, they could sit at the same table and discuss things harmoniously. It was almost unbelievable. Why don't we train in the room of requirement? We could duel each other and also hum. Let me think, I pondered briefly before finally naming someone. Tom. Draco and Harry spoke simultaneously. Who else could be the best instructor for defense against the dark arts besides the Dark Lord himself? But, would Grandpa agree? Tom and Abraxas had always been inseparable. That's perfect then, the two of them can train us together. We have 4 students total, enough to divide. But, I glanced at Hermione. Abraxas was a staunch supporter of pureblood ideology, made even more so by Lucius. Tom himself is a half-blood, and back in school they were treated like Muggle-borns, Draco tried to reason. Times are different now, Harry agreed with me. What? Who exactly is this Tom you're talking about? He's my grandfather's partner. Your grandfather is gay? Then how do you exist? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be asking such personal things. Hermione quickly stopped herself. I silently thanked her. I had no intention of recounting my family's complicated history. 2 generations of dark wizards had crossed paths countless times at Malfoy Manor. Even with Abraxas as a stabilizing presence, every meeting ended in quarrels. Combined, they're nearly 200 years old, yet still unrestrained. No respect for age. Each time, Abraxas would give him a symbolic beating. In short, it's just the story of my grandfather finally laying down the burden of the Malfoy family, finding true love, and eloping together. I pinched my forehead, summarizing Voldemort and Abraxas' lives as concisely as possible. You're worried that having this Tom teach will inevitably draw your grandfather's attention? And Grandpa Abraxas is a pureblood, typical Slytherin? Hermione's expression remained calm. Seeing my guilty look, she stepped forward to reassure me. We can't control how others treat us. We only need to focus on those who truly care about us. We'll be sure to find things for Grandpa to do, I quickly promised. In truth, pureblood ideology in the wizarding world was much like the class distinctions during revolutionary periods or like Nazi persecution of Jews. It was all about bloodline. When, I wondered, would wizards and muggles finally break free from the chains of identity and truly experience the world without prejudice? Aurora, you're a utopia. I'm afraid that even with lifespans as long as ours, we may never live to see such a day. Draco shook his head, a wry smile tugging at his lips. Perhaps, in the original tale, Draco never set out to be that insufferable, pompous boy who grated on everyone's nerves. It was all the result of years of parental influence, ideas whispered into his ears since childhood. If one were to write the story of Draco and Harry, it could easily be titled Pride and Prejudice of the Wizarding World. Draco, born with pride etched into his bones, was deeply curious about Harry. He longed to befriend the boy he had already encountered twice in Diagon Alley, but he never found the right way to do it. Then Hagrid's mutterings about all Malfoys being dark wizards sealed Harry's opinion of him in disdain. And so prejudice was born. The very first time Draco extended his hand in friendship on the Hogwarts Express, Harry, already biased against him, rejected him in front of everyone. The years of challenges and provocations that followed were Draco's way of proving to Harry that spurning him had been a grave mistake. But the result was the opposite. The Malfoy family's reputation collapsed. Ironically, the family's moment of greatest glory was the instant before Draco ever set foot in Hogwarts. How tragic, how telling. Every family has its peaks and its valleys. So this is the life my parallel self chose? Draco clicked his tongue. He had never had patience for that other version of himself. If anything, he would have gladly traveled back just to give him a good beating. At least in that world, the Malfoys survived intact. In the original tale, countless families were torn apart and scattered. I felt fortunate we had avoided such suffering, yet at the same time, uncertain. What should we do next to ensure we didn't take a wrong step? Wait, what you just said gave me an idea. Harry suddenly leaned forward, his voice full of mystery. If a person from one world can be replaced by their counterpart from another, then what about objects? He continued, for example, if we managed to get hold of the resurrection stone from a parallel world, would Dumbledore's stone in this world slowly lose its power and turn into an ordinary gem? It was a question no one dared to answer. Simple in concept, yet terrifying in implication. And no one had been reckless enough to test it. Besides, parallel worlds were deceiving by nature. Who could say for certain which version of a person or an object was truly lost? Once more, the path ahead seemed blocked. We quickly sent a letter to Tom and Abraxas. Draco stood in the room of requirement and read it aloud for us to hear. Children, by the time this letter reaches you, we should be close to meeting again. You forced us into separation, so we expect some form of compensation. As for your request, the first matter to settle is, what benefit is in it for me? Tom's words cut sharply, but he wasn't wrong. He was Abraxas's partner, yet also the right hand that had upheld the Malfoy family's revival. No one ever acknowledged his contributions. For him to step forward now only showed how much resentment had been left to fester. What should we do? We'll have to soothe Tom later, I whispered to Draco and Harry. Just then, the door to the room of requirement swung open. Long, elegant legs, the face of a godlike youth, and the presence of a man nearing 70, who still looked as though he had never aged. Tom stood before us. You're here already? Where's grandfather? Of course, he's busy trading banter with Severus. Otherwise, how else would he provide cover to sneak me into Dumbledore's territory? Tom's lips curved into a sly smile. That's only because there's no one else around. Before the words were out, Tom's brow furrowed. Rude little things, what have they become? Truly spoiled by Sissy. He didn't seem genuinely angry. Using Tom's blood and ancient alchemy, Abraxas had created Narcissa. Strictly speaking, Tom was another father figure to her. This explained our distinctive Parseltongue accent. If it weren't for Abraxas, how could the Dark Lord come at your beck and call? Don't go throwing titles around. The Dark Lord is part of your past now. I quickly cut him off. Don't worry, she can't hear us. Tom glanced at Hermione. You've silenced her? Impeach, he replied, a sound that counted as an acknowledgement. So this is the Granger girl you keep talking about, the one who's always competing with you? His lips barely moved. His voice was low and precise, requiring careful attention to catch. After I confirmed, Tom's expression grew thoughtful. Can I add her to the teaching roster? But don't tell Grandpa. Tom's meaning was clear. Aren't you afraid that if I teach her, she might surpass me? I noticed she's using a time turner too. The man smirked mischievously. Mr. Malfoy, Hermione hesitated to speak. She looked at his dark, jet black hair, not the platinum signature of the Malfoy family. Tom nodded. He seemed untouched by time, his appearance as striking as ever. Hermione, naturally drawn to handsome faces, couldn't tear her eyes away. Hermione, think of Victor. I shook her arm gently to bring her back to her senses. Yes, right, I have a boyfriend. She lowered her head, embarrassed, glancing at me with a quiet warning, don't tell anyone. Relax, it's a normal reaction, I reassured her with a smile. Aurora, I mean Mr. Malfoy, is he strong? After meeting us, Tom departed early. Hermione grabbed my arm, trying to probe about him indirectly. Why, he's gay, such a top-tier guy, just internalized like that. She looked frustrated. And, is he strong? Hermione still doubted Tom's abilities. Without experiencing the Slytherin Chamber of Secrets events from canon, Hermione knew nothing of Tom's true identity. The stunning young man she'd just seen was none other than the notorious Voldemort, a wizarding genius of a century. And she questioned his power? If Tom knew a muggle, Born looked down on him, who knows if he'd pass out from anger. Draco and Harry were already laughing uncontrollably at the side. Strong, very strong, otherwise he couldn't have been my grandfather's partner, Draco said, laughing until tears formed. All right, I'll take your word for it, Hermione said, still skeptical. What about our Uncle Sirius? He's handsome too, why don't you doubt his strength? I countered. Professor Black is a bit inferior compared to just now, Mr. Malfoy. Hermione's gaze seemed lost in reflection. All right, collect yourselves. Don't let your souls get stolen. Tom's already taken, you might as well stop pining after him. I teased lightly. Your grandfather must be over 50 by now, and yet he's found someone that young. Hermione looked utterly bewildered. Our grandfather looks quite young himself, I hurried to deny. Abraxas was a staunch believer in blood purity. If he ever discovered our ties with Muggle-borns, we'd be harshly reprimanded. That was why Hermione had never met him. Well, true, the wealthy do tend to invest in staying youthful. Actually, the purer a wizard's bloodline, the younger they tend to appear. Of course that varied from person to person. Grindelwald, for instance, looked far younger than Dumbledore. As one of Hogwarts' founding families, the Malfoys had no trouble arranging an independent chamber in the Slytherin dorms for Abraxas. And as Abraxas's partner, Tom naturally moved about Hogwarts without restriction. In the original tale, 10 years after graduation, Tom Riddle reapplied for the post of Defense Against the Dark Arts professor only to be rejected yet again. Now walking the castle grounds beside Abraxas, he leaned close, their voices low, their faces softened by nostalgia, as if revisiting their own school days. The students nearby barely glanced at them. Neither Tom's devastating beauty nor Abraxas's striking presence turned any heads. Two natural, born stars, hidden in plain sight. A masterful confundus charm. Cast selectively, it allowed us to see through it, but concealed them from the wider crowd. Let's get him to give us some private lessons, Draco muttered, already eager. Deal. But when we arrived at our meeting place, Tom and Abraxas wore grim expressions. What happened? There's been unrest in Azkaban. Tom held up a slip of parchment, burned to ash at the edges. It seems to be tied to the break-in at Gringotts, Abraxas added. What? I felt as if I'd been struck hard across the skull. My body swayed, my balance nearly gone. Aurora, careful. Draco's arm braced my waist just in time. The Ministry tried to inventory the items Bellatrix Lestrange kept in her Gringotts vault. That's when the mistake happened. But why would the Ministry interfere? The answer was already writing itself in my mind. The Ministry received a petition from the Black family, demanding confirmation of Bellatrix Lestrange's assets. Bellatrix was meant to sign the documents, but before she could, the prisoners of Azkaban were suddenly attacked. And sure enough, the latest issue of the Daily Prophet splashed the headline across its front page. Notorious criminal Bellatrix Lestrange escapes Azkaban. Why would the Ministry even need Bellatrix's consent? I frowned. She's serving a life sentence, she shouldn't still hold the basic rights of a free witch. It happened during the signing of an acknowledgement form, Abraxas explained. That document, of course, had been one of Umbridge's pet decrees from 2 years back. A showpiece of so-called human rights and democracy. Muggle society had similar absurdities. In some Western countries, prisons were built like luxury hotels, private rooms, plentiful food, entertainment at hand. It wasn't punishment at all, but a holiday. Umbridge's decree was cut from the same cloth. Showmanship at any cost. Aurora, are you all right? I crouched down, hugging my knees, trying to draw some strength. Draco bent down as well and wrapped me in his arms. I'm fine, just a little cold. It was my decision. I was the one who caused this mess. I had wanted to keep the Hufflepuff cup in my own hands, yet I inadvertently created a way for Bellatrix to escape. Draco clearly understood what I was feeling. Aurora, don't blame yourself for this. It's not your fault. What do you mean? Tom's keen hearing immediately caught Draco's unspoken meaning. Draco, you say it. What's going on? Abraxas raised his voice. I flinched and covered Draco's mouth with my hand. I'll explain. There was no need to hide the mistakes I had made. A clever mind like Tom's could easily see through Draco's protective gesture. Aurora, is the theft of the Hufflepuff cup connected to you? My father can purify Horcruxes, so I thought. Sometimes, doing nothing is better. Abraxas didn't scold me, though the disappointment in his eyes still made my heart sink. The current whereabouts of the Hufflepuff cup? Unknown. Abraxas's expression was grave. Likewise, Bellatrix is currently missing. Both 12 Grimmauld Place Black Family's Old Manor and Malfoy Manor are heavily guarded. So, you and Tom coming to Hogwarts is essentially a soft form of house arrest. Tom tugged at the corner of his mouth. As one of Voldemort's most loyal lieutenants, Bellatrix's escape caused massive panic. The Rumbald's mental breakdown? Her doing. Tom looked at the photo of the crazed woman, his expression dark and unreadable. The memory of 16-year-old Voldemort hadn't yet encountered Bellatrix. In official Harry Potter fanfiction, Bellatrix and Voldemort even have a child together. When Mrs. Weasley killed Bellatrix, Voldemort's scream of pain was unlike his reaction to any other Death Eater. Aurora, what's wrong? You've been staring at Tom. Abraxas asked, concealing a hint of annoyance in his tone. I just don't know where Bellatrix would escape to. The ministry monitoring the Black family manor seemed unlikely. Currently, Sirius Black lived there. The two belonged to opposing factions. If Bellatrix appeared at 12 Grimmauld Place, Sirius would probably be the first to report her. Not to mention the manor now housed the Black family's new hope, Alphard. As for Malfoy Manor, Narcissa had only the name tied to the Black family. They weren't sisters, so there was no chance of secretly harboring an escaped Azkaban prisoner. My plan had clearly flushed the snake out. Bellatrix escaped, and the Hufflepuff cup disappeared. I suspect the theft of the Hufflepuff cup is just a signal from the ministry. After a long silence, Harry spoke. Makes sense. Tom gave an approving look. To lure the enemy deeper, to flush out the snake. The two said in unison. I have to admit, if this was Umbridge's idea, she's far more fit to be Minister of Magic than Cornelius Fudge ever was. Stop keeping us in suspense. I couldn't hide the anxious edge in my voice. Harry blinked, then gave a small, calming smile. Aurora, don't worry. It's only my theory, but it happens to line up with Tom's. The Hufflepuff cup may have been nothing more than a signal the ministry deliberately released, bait to lure Bellatrix to Gringotts so she'd take the real cup. It made sense. No one had actually witnessed the theft. It was all just a message. If Bellatrix appeared, Aurors lying in wait could seize her. And with that, the real cup would be reclaimed. Or quietly switched. They could let her believe she was free, only to tighten the chains afterward. A brilliant move, wasn't it? Seeing the dawning realization on my face, Draco added, I suspect Father was involved too. Luke, Abraxas's brow furrowed. The Daily Prophet dedicating such a spread to the story, wasn't that meant to spread the news right under Bellatrix's nose? It was a sharp tactic. Bellatrix, with her volatile black blood, was quick to ignite. She was exactly the sort to charge in without thought. But why hadn't Father explained the whole matter to us? It could very well be Luke's doing, Abraxas admitted. The ministry, the Prophet, all are in his hands now. The boy has grown up. A rare, proud smile softened his face. Clearly, he was well taught. Tom chimed in smoothly, never missing a chance to flatter. But of course, his success is entirely due to my careful guidance. Abraxas puffed up at once. Everyone knew the truth. Abraxas had practically let Lucius raise himself. Strict in discipline, yes, but rarely present to guide his son through childhood. Ha, listen to him polishing his own reputation. He hardly did anything, Draco muttered in my ear. Still, Abraxas's hard-edged style of parenting had passed from him to Lucius, and now to Draco. As its inheritor, Draco sometimes couldn't help but quietly bemoan the hardships of his own upbringing. So it really was father? My legs gave out and I sank onto the floor, relief flooding me so hard it almost felt like rebirth. Only then did I notice the cold sweat soaking through the back of my robes. Aurora, it's all right. You can trust the Malfoys. You can trust father, Draco whispered as he wrapped his arms around me. While you're at Hogwarts, Luke can't send messages easily. All of you must stay vigilant, Abraxas warned. As for your defense against the Dark Arts Squad, Tom has already spoken to me. His gaze swept over the three of us, making my heart race. Finally, he sighed. I'm not some stubborn relic waiting to rot in the ground. With Muggle science advancing by the day, even I no longer find Muggle born so intolerable that I'd lose my appetite over them. The Malfoy way has always been about profit. If Muggle borns can serve our interests, then perhaps my attitude can change. His voice trailed into a murmur. And yet, who was it, Tom interjected with a sly smile, who slipped poison to the very first Muggle-born Minister of Magic? Abraxas shot him a look of mock reproach. That was because Richie's policies cost us more than they earned. You think I wanted to dirty my hands? The first Lucius Malfoy of the family even once courted Queen Elizabeth I. Technically speaking, the British Queen was a Muggle. The Malfoy family's insistence on pureblood supremacy started after the Statute of Secrecy was enacted. Outwardly, they drew clear lines with Muggle high society, yet privately maintained connections. It was merely a method of hedging their bets and avoiding trouble. Seeing the realization dawn on us, Abraxas shook his head with a haughty air. Clearly, the next generation's education still needs my personal guidance. Luke, compared to me, falls far short in this regard. Indeed, in canon, the shrewd, calculating Lucius far outmatched Draco, who mostly just shouted, "I'll tell my father." Perhaps the environment shapes personality more than anything else. Lucius, raised in turbulent times, naturally had a keener sense of strategy than young Master Draco in a more peaceful era. It wasn't long before news arrived that Bellatrix had been captured and imprisoned again. Rumor had it that she lingered near 12 Grimmauld Place for a long time, but never entered. Bellatrix, beyond being a love-obsessed, obsessive zealot, was also a wizard with explosive combat abilities. Her name Bellatrix was taken from a goddess of war. She had somehow seized a wand from some unlucky wizard, and likely understood the shifts of the past decade. She knew well that the Black family, now under the control of her cousin Sirius, could offer her no protection. The next best option was the Malfoy Manor, a place that had once served as a temporary meeting ground for Death Eaters, where she shared countless memories with Voldemort. Yet, for some reason, the manor seemed impenetrable. Aurors had long been stationed nearby, giving her no chance to approach. She wanted to contact old allies, but had no way to do so. Then she heard that the Hufflepuff cup, entrusted to her care by Voldemort, had been stolen. Panic gripped her, and she resolved to investigate at all costs. She presented her key to the goblins at Gringotts. The goblins merely raised an eyebrow. The moment a goblin reached for the key, several Aurors lying in ambush nearby launched an attack on Bellatrix. The goblins apparated en masse, and chaos erupted across the scene. This ambush was no simple feat. The goblins were not easy to win over. In the end, it was Lucius who revealed his true identity as the Elven King, and only then did the goblins bow in respect and agree to play along. Before Bellatrix's arrival, every valuable item was hidden away. Should anything be damaged, the Malfoy family would take full responsibility for compensation. The goblin assigned to hand over the vault keys offered them, with both hands, deferentially, to Lucius. "You may leave it to them. Take me to Bellatrix's vault." "As you command, great Elven King." Lucius inclined his head. They passed through a shadowed corridor and stopped before a secluded chamber. "After you." Lucius pushed open the door. Bellatrix's wealth was staggering. Lucius had once overseen the Potter inheritance on Harry's behalf, but even that fortune paled before what lay here. That man's assets were also recorded under Lady Lestrange's name, the goblin explained. "I see." Lucius's eyes gleamed with sudden understanding. So not only had Bellatrix safeguarded Puff's cup for Voldemort, she had also accepted the tributes funneled to him from other pure blood families. If father were told of this, Tom would certainly. Lucius's lips curved faintly as he made a silent resolve. Tom would go to great lengths to conceal this matter. Lucius could only guess at the means. Hufflepuff's cup sat in the most prominent place, shrouded in a faint, sinister haze. Like Slytherin's locket, it carried the unmistakable stench of a soul fragment. Lucius bowed slightly. I require a private chamber to deal with this particular property. Your Majesty, the Elven King, but this. Lucius released the crushing force of his innate authority. My apologies, I shall withdraw at once. The goblin bowed hastily and retreated. The elf immediately chose flight as the best option. Lucius exhaled deeply. Voldemort's fragment of soul was extremely cunning. If it weren't completely purified, the residual essence could easily attach itself to the elf who had just been here. This was precisely why Lucius had preferred to be misunderstood rather than leave it behind. He didn't want innocent lives caught in the aftermath. Phew. Watching the last wisp of dark energy dissipate, Lucius finally relaxed. His legs weakened, and he hastily grabbed the nearby stone pillar. A cascade of galleons spilled to the ground. Suddenly, his arm was caught. Tom. Lucius looked at the newcomer, brow furrowed. Finished already? Let's go. Tom prepared to leave without a second thought. Why did you come in too? Tom's long, slender fingers touched Lucius's wrist. You. The hands, delicate like works of art, felt his pulse. Heart beating fast. You didn't even notice me. Tom's lips curved slightly. Your vigilance has dropped, Luke. Lucius obediently replied, yes. He draped his arm over Tom's shoulders. The two were close enough that Lucius could see Tom's thick eyelashes. His crimson eyes mirrored Narcissa's. Suddenly, Lucius's hand brushed his neck. Little Luke, since when did you become so fierce? The old you always trailed behind Abraxas like a little shadow. Tom had transformed. He looked more mature, more magnetic. The adult Voldemort. I noticed you've been watching me, following me. The boy who used to light up for a single word of praise is gone. Tom's hand covered Lucius's. A suggestive curve touched the corner of his lips. Lucius's hand did not move. Don't struggle at the end. It's meaningless, Godfather. A trace of cruelty and madness glimmered in Tom's eyes. Malfoy, truly the epitome of despicable. This time, I admit defeat. It turned out that the previous illusion had been created by the soul fragment in the Hufflepuff cup, attempting one final struggle. This time, the fragment truly disintegrated. Lucius's earlier weakness vanished completely. He smoothed non-existent wrinkles on his robes, drank the cup, and tucked it into his chest. He cast one last lingering glance at Bellatrix's vault, then resolved to empty it completely. Consider these galleons compensation for the mental toll just now. Lucius's expression turned grim. He muttered to himself, back to Sissy to purify this. When Voldemort had first obtained the Hufflepuff cup, he had used seduction. He had entrusted the cup to Bellatrix Lestrange, a subordinate with whom he had an ambiguous relationship. The soul fragment on the Hufflepuff cup also symbolized Voldemort's lust. In the end, Lucius severed it completely. The news that Bellatrix had once again been imprisoned spread like wildfire, bringing a wave of satisfaction. Azkaban had tightened its security. At the same time, fierce debates broke out over whether convicted criminals deserved human rights. How much consideration should be given to those whose crimes were beyond forgiveness had become the question on everyone's lips. Sirius stared down at the Daily Prophet, where the picture of his cousin, ravaged and unrecognizable after years behind bars, filled the front page. With a weary sigh, he flipped the paper face down on the sofa and pressed a hand to his brow. The article had even set him side by side with her. He, the man who had endured over a decade of wrongful imprisonment for the sake of friendship. She, the mad fugitive whose name was cursed across Britain. Both bore the blood of the noble and most ancient House of Black, yet their paths could not have been more different. Even the portrait of Lady Walburga Black seemed dispirited. That niece of hers, once the most dazzling rose of Slytherin, admired by all, had ruined her life the moment she gave her heart to Voldemort. Sirius, forgive me. Walburga's painted lips trembled. What did you say? Sirius's voice caught in his throat, betraying a hint of choked emotion. You were the only one in the Black family who saw clearly. The rest of us, from the moment we met that man, it was as though we'd been bewitched by some Eastern sorcery, trapped by his words. Every one of us could have had a future worth something. My poor Regulus. Tears streamed down the portrait's face. Mother, it's all in the past now. We still have Alfred. Sirius lifted his son into his arms and pressed a kiss to the boy's soft cheek. The baby wailed sharply, irritated by the prick of his father's stubble. Sorry, Sirius flustered, rocking him quickly. You're already far better than your father ever was. Back then, it was Creature and I who looked after you boys. He never once lent a hand. Wahlberg's voice was wistful now. Mother, I never realized. Caring for a child is so hard, Sirius whispered, eyes rimmed with red. He thought back to his wild and reckless youth, and how cruelly it must have shattered her heart. Despite being mistress of the Black household, with an army of elves to serve her, Wahlberga had insisted on tending to Sirius herself. This beautiful boy had inherited her looks, so perfectly perhaps even surpassed them. No words could capture how overjoyed she had been, how grateful she was to Merlin for such a gift. Sirius, her first child, the first son of the Black line. Showered with affection from the moment he drew breath. It was no wonder he grew proud, even arrogant. His striking good looks only encouraged the indulgence of others. And now, separated by death itself, mother and son finally reached a moment of reconciliation. A portrait contained only fragments of a person's memory, yet in the wizarding world, death need not erase them entirely. Perhaps in its way, that too was a kind of immortality. Elsewhere, we received word from Lucius that brought another round of celebration. Glasses clinked high in the air. Do you feel easier now? Draco murmured in my ear. Yes, I breathed, wrapped in the warmth of love from all sides. I couldn't imagine being happier. By the looks of it, nearly all the Horcruxes are gone. The diary tome was now on our side. Slytherin's locket, Puff's cup, Ravenclaw's diadem, Nagini. The resurrection stone remained with Dumbledore, its condition still uncertain. Right, and the most important one, Harry Potter. Carrying Voldemort's main soul, and the scar he left behind, my gaze inevitably drifted toward Harry. What are you looking at? I felt a sharp pinch at my waist. Draco had grabbed me. I'm jealous, he whispered in my ear. Jealous? What does that have to do with me? I asked, knowing full well the answer. That heartless fellow, he gently nipped my earlobe, looking at what's in the bowl while eating what's in the pot. Well, that was with your consent, I said, trying to calm him. If I hadn't agreed, you'd have run off with Harry already, wouldn't you? His lips pressed harder, and I hissed in pain, silently begging for mercy. No use, Aurora. I've been fooled so many times. I should have learned by now. This time I won't stop unless... He dragged the words out. Unless what? You remember our other identity, right? Of course, elves. Father told me we could first make our engagement before the Mother Tree. Draco's eyes were full of hope. Are you proposing to me? I teased, looking at his unprepared face. Not formally. I thought we could get engaged first. Draco's face flushed crimson. From somewhere, he produced a peculiarly shaped ring, an antique-looking piece, with a texture reminiscent of a medieval treasure. Aurora, I had the goblins make this back when I was Legras. I just never gave it away. You mean, when you were Legras? You really intend to marry me? I could hardly believe it. After 1,000 years, the gems had dulled with time, but the ring, it had indeed appeared in platinum glory. Every generation of Malfoys had seen a sketch of it. I designed it myself. Draco's eyes brimmed with shame. Can I? I looked to Harry for reassurance. The black-haired boy nodded. Draco's face deepened in red as he slipped the ring onto my middle finger without adjusting the size. Could it be? I've waited for this day for so many years. Then he removed the ring. What? I barely had it on. Whoever takes off a ring right after putting it on? I protested. I just wanted you to try it. The official exchange has to happen beneath the Mother Tree for it to count, Draco stammered, clearly wanting to stake his claim before Harry. Hearing my thoughts, he added, don't worry, Father and Mother have prepared this for a long time, including our attire. He nodded at Harry. Only, Harry isn't an elf, so he can't participate in the elven marriage ritual, but he can witness it. His voice grew lower. Oh, In that case, I could first make an elven engagement with Aurora. What? You're a blood clan? When did that happen? Draco stepped in front of me. Elves and blood clans are natural enemies. A blood clan drinking elf blood gains great power, and blood clan blood can even harm the mother tree. If Harry were a blood clan, he couldn't enter the elves' sacred place. Not yet, Harry explained, but if one wants to stay beside Aurora longer, becoming a blood clan is the optimal choice. No, don't even think about it. A union between vampires and elves was taboo. Wolves and sheep don't belong together. I gripped Harry's arm tight. Once you become a vampire, your soul belongs to the devil. There's no chance of reincarnation. I kissed the palm of his hand. If I plant the elf soulmate mark on you, you can share each other's lifespans. Draco's face changed. Aurora, that could work. If Draco could plant the leaf mark on me, I could leave my own unique brand on Harry. But, would you be willing to be marked by me? I asked cautiously. Are there any side effects? Harry asked with a smile. His green eyes sparkled, handsome as ever. Whatever you think will be transmitted, here. I tapped my temple. You'll have no secrets anymore. So that's the secret behind Draco and your bond? Harry said, as if he'd known all along, just waiting for me to say it. Draco wrapped his arms around my shoulders from behind. Wouldn't your little head explode? He teased, ruffling my hair. 3 minds filling your skull at once, wouldn't that drive you mad? Harry's expression briefly darkened, but he was the first to soothe me. It's all right, you just have to work hard to find me in the crowd. Don't scare Harry. Can't you shield your thoughts? I pinched Draco. Don't listen to him. If we couldn't block outside voices, Draco and I would have gone mad long ago. Elves can hear everything, so we've trained ourselves to filter ambient noise. The same goes for inner voices. I hurried to explain to Harry. That would be an exclusive privilege for you, Draco purred close to my ear. That doesn't mean I can just stand by and let you mark Harry. I didn't finish the sentence. In a past life, I watched him age from a beautiful youth into an old man and die in my arms. I swore then I'd not endure that again. But Aurora, I want to be marked by you too. Our elf marks bind us across lifetimes. Draco breathed against the nape of my neck. Only elves can mark one person in a lifetime, I said. Draco looked into my eyes. A flicker of melancholy passed through them. Guilt filled me. I wanted to split in two. It felt like I was hurting both of them at once. As I hesitated, both of them burst out laughing. Look how anxious she is, Harry teased. I'm so jealous I could go mad, Aurora, Draco said, his tone oddly light. Seeing my confusion, he finally explained, male elves can indeed mark only one partner for life. But it's different for females. Perhaps the first elf king was female, so women were given special preference. I exhaled, relieved. Much later, when we settled by the mother tree, an ancient manuscript clarified it for me. Elves were born in a time of war. If female elves could mark only one mate in a lifetime, their bloodlines would die out. Chapter 556, Obedience. Then you two had been in cahoots all along, just waiting to see me make a fool of myself. I pieced together the key point and shouted, fuming. We just wanted to test how important you are to us. Harry scratched his head, his tousled bangs falling over his eyes. The boy's eyes shone like stars. Even the inanimate gray sparkled with life. But the mark isn't urgent. Right now is a critical time, and using it consumes a lot of internal magical energy. Draco's words carried a subtle implication. I knew his possessiveness was acting up. I didn't voice any objection. Publicly opposing him would surely earn me a private lesson. Understood, no rush, Harry said, showing he got it. Once again, the two of them teamed up to bewilder me. My lingering guilt was quickly washed away by their combined little trick. Perhaps this scheming and double-dealing lifestyle suited the Malfoy family tradition, and we even enjoyed it. That night, Draco woke me. What is it? I grumbled, reluctant to leave my deep sleep. Taking you somewhere. While I was still half asleep, he dressed me. I felt like a pampered infant, so comfortably attended to. No wonder you're my personal house elf, Draco. I closed my eyes and reached out to touch his hair. But what I felt wasn't the soft platinum short hair. It was flowing, silky. You turned into an elf? Aren't you afraid someone might see? Half awake, I was jolted by surprise. He lightly touched my brow. I was forced to transform into an elf as well. What are you doing? I didn't understand. My fingers were still wearing the ring Narcissa had made to conceal my elf form. When did your magical energy get this strong? Enough to force my transformation. Joy makes one spirited, he joked lightly. Honestly, the dragon's body is part of me. After merging with it, I reclaimed all of Legolas's power, the power of the elf prince, the next elf king. He was no longer the frail boy. 2 lifetimes of memories, plus the heritage of generations of elves, gave his eyes a calm that came after weathering 1,000 storms. This was fundamentally different from naive innocence. Do you trust me, Aurora? I have enough power to protect you. He wrapped a coat around me again. We really won't be seen? I gripped his hand, asking again and again. His lips curved slightly. Yes. Then he took me and apparated. When I opened my eyes, we were already at the heart of the great tree. Worrying over nothing, Draco teased. Damn it, you had me worried for nothing. Sorry, I can't translate sexual or sexually explicit content that involves characters who are minors. I can, however, provide a safe, non-sexual translation of this scene or translate it unchanged, if you confirm the characters are adults. Below is a cleaned, non-sexual translation that preserves the scene's mood and meaning while removing the intimate, undressing elements. I tugged at his loose hair and let myself vent a little. He gave a pained grunt. There's really no need to transform, I mumbled under my breath. He didn't answer. Instead he took my hand and guided it to rest on the mother tree. Close your eyes, Draco instructed. It was late at night, only the wind whispered around us. So quiet, why haven't Eric and the others moved? I wondered. Don't speak. Be still. Draco's voice sharpened. His rare seriousness stopped me from protesting. Obediently I shut my eyes. A burning heat rose between my brows. Even with my eyes closed, a strong white light pulsed before me. You can open them now. Draco and I had somehow unlocked the core of the mother tree. This place was a dwelling fit only for the king of the elves. Come with me. He led me by the hand, step by step, into that sacred space. After Selendui sacrificed himself, I took his place. Draco's fingers brushed the furnishings around the room. Everything was laid out exactly as in the place where we used to live together. I changed this place to look like that, but I was too afraid to seek you out, so I lived inside memories of you. He turned away and pressed a hidden mechanism. What appeared next took my breath away. 2 gowns hung there, preserved by elven magic, each as flawless as if newly made. They're beautiful, I whispered. The elven garments flowed like moonlight, lacy, intricate, set with tiny fairy gems that shimmered like captured starlight. On each lonely night, I fall asleep by imagining you in one of these gowns, standing before the mother tree, promising me forever. Draco spoke with solemn tenderness. It's been kept here for 1,000 years. I can't wait any longer. Will you fulfill this for me, Aurora? So, I was not the only one who harbored regrets. This is so sudden, I haven't even had time to dress properly, I protested, half laughing. Of all moments I was still plain-faced and half asleep. He moved to help me settle my cloak and otherwise prepare. The elven gowns are enchanted to dress themselves, I said, but he insisted on doing it himself. The mother tree was the mother of all elves. We were always in her sight. A chill passed over me as the last of my outer layers fell away, leaving me only in a simple underrobe, still modest, still far from anything improper. Do I have to take this off too? I murmured. All human clothes must come off. He looked at me as if admiring a work of art, his gaze traveling from head to toe. Don't be shy. Why do you look like a cooked shrimp, all pink all over? Draco teased me, running his fingers lightly over my trembling skin. I'll help you. The gown, made of sheer fabric, somehow left me feeling no chill at all. Its fibers were infused with Legolas's unique magic. In the memories of the legacy, this was a dress meant only for the elven queen. My status. With Lucius still around, this dress should belong to Narcissa. Draco shook his head. Mother knows. Father had long planned to step aside. He spoke with a mock helplessness. After all, in the past life, the reason he chose me was to be with Mother, wasn't it? The gown fit me as if tailored perfectly. I could hardly believe I was truly the ethereal elf reflected in the mirror. Draco dabbed flower juice onto my lips. The leaf on my forehead suddenly burned with heat. Sorry, I'm just too happy. He placed a crown of intertwined thorns on my head. Dark night, strong wind. Like this, don't we look like we're privately pledged to each other? The fervor in his eyes nearly melted me. I scrambled for a lighter topic, joking to ease the intensity. Draco, however, was far less hesitant with himself. In the blink of an eye, he used magic to change into his gown. That's not fair. You just... I caught his mischievous grin and felt my anger flare. Why stop? You've already been tricked once this time, no more. I huffed, though the delight in my eyes betrayed me completely. He took my hand and led me to the mother tree. His elven form had grown ever closer to Legolas of the past life. I fought the memory of his resolute gaze, telling myself to live in the present. Draco's eyes darkened. He clearly sensed my unease and fear of loss. Aurora, perhaps the wounds we've suffered need a lifetime to heal. I'm grateful you're willing to give me this chance. He knelt first before the mother tree. Mother of the elves, please guide me. If I ever hurt Aurora, again take back everything you've granted me, erase all memories she and I share. This was the gravest punishment. One without memories could start anew, living carefree. Those who retained them would carry regret their entire lives. Then I lifted my gown and knelt beside him. Mother, don't listen to Legolas's nonsense. I shot him a look. I decided long ago not to live in the past anymore. As if confiding in an old friend, I poured out what I felt. We've been through so much together. It's taken so long for things to turn sweet again. I don't want to squander the happiness in front of me. Can't you just bless us? Aurora. Draco went pale with shock. You actually told the mother tree that? What's wrong? I asked, puzzled. The mother tree's blessing it. Draco glanced around, the surprise in his eyes breaking through his words. In the pitch black dark, a sudden daylight bloomed. Rings of light layered and shimmered around us, wrapping and enveloping us. The mother tree's leaves rustled. Aurora, the mother tree answered. I thought your reckless suggestion would. Draco's voice trailed off, utterly at a loss for words. How must be the mother tree knows you'd never lie to make a girl smile. The tree's apparent coyness was oddly satisfying. After all, it favored the elven king it had chosen, and seemed intent on teaching him how to win his future wife's heart. Draco sighed, helpless and delighted, and scooped me up in his arms. One hand settled at my waist, the other cradled my neck. Before the mother tree he spoke his love with kisses. Even in that clingingly intimate moment, I straightened my fallen collar, earning a soft chuckle from him. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you here. His voice fell to a low magnetic timbre. With the polished mask of civility torn away, a primal, masculine assertiveness surfaced, sending a chill down my spine. It was a palpable sense of danger. Now that the mother tree's backing you, why should I trust you? I countered. For elves, making a vow before the mother tree is tantamount to a binding marriage in name. He'd coaxed and deceived me here, no small hint of ulterior motive. If you put it that way, would I be the one lacking tact if I didn't indulge your wishes? He replied with a sly smile. Chapter 5, 159, The One Who Quits at Will. Let's settle here with the mother tree tonight. I've already won her consent, Draco said after a moment's thought. You can actually speak to her directly? I asked again. That was a power unique to the Elven King. Of course, so don't doubt your choice. Draco straightened my gown for me. Our offspring can be born of the mother tree, or we can choose to conceive them ourselves. His gaze dropped to my belly. It's far too soon, haven't you forgotten? Mother's current pregnancy, who knows how long it'll take, I replied. Years had passed with no sign. That's because Mother's carrying a sapling this time. A sapling? Once it leaves the parent tree, it will grow into a towering tree itself, becoming another parent tree and nurturing new elves. Draco explained softly. Then the younger sibling. Doesn't it feel sad, being stuck in one place its whole life? I touched the trunk of the great tree, feeling a wave of sorrow, forever unable to leave, its entire life devoted to others. We're not much different. No one can experience all the wonders of the world, and Draco paused, leaving me in suspense. And, I urged. The parent tree also has a tree spirit. It can transform into an elf. Father's name, Thranduil's name, Tree of Spring, signifies that it is a parent tree born in spring. Ah, I see. Then where is Father's true form? Draco shook his head. I cannot detect it. It might exist in a parallel world, or in a higher dimensional space. He gazed at me deeply and asked softly, if my true form is also a tree, or even less than a tree, would you despise me for it? How could I? Legolas means leaf. Could it be, your true form is a leaf on Thranduil? I guessed boldly. That's correct, Draco said, a little disheartened. Why? All my life my magical power can never match Father's. He spread his hands, gathering a sphere of energy, then solidified it. I've seen Father's, it was far more terrifying than this. I reached out to touch his magic, warm radiant energy, flowing endlessly, aligned with my own. I seemed to amplify it naturally. The sphere in Draco's hands suddenly more than doubled in size. Aurora. Draco's face lit up with surprise. See, it's not that you cannot compare to Father. We were originally one. Only by combining our powers can we unleash our full potential. I met his gaze. Aurora. Under the sky is our canopy, and the earth is our seat. We spent a perfect night beneath the great tree. I wish it could always be like this, Draco whispered in my ear. No annoying Horcruxes, no so-called Order of the Phoenix, Death Eaters or supremacist factions. Why are you just like your parents, always wanting to drop everything? I teased him. Don't you think only by letting go can they truly recognize their rights and duties? After all, Grandfather and Tom seem so young. Tom, he's a near-octogenarian, long due for retirement and enjoying his remaining years. He's also part of the Malfoy family now. It's time he contributes to the family's revival. Think of it as making up for dragging the Malfoys into trouble back then. The next morning I held my dress, feeling unsure. It was wrinkled, none of its original crispness left. I have to wear this in front of friends and family. Draco waved lightly, and the dress vanished before my eyes. The ceremony is already over. Next time you wear it will be when we settle here for good. Huh? We've already received the Mother Tree's blessing. Among elves, unions don't require the presence or witness of parents or kin, Draco declared as though it were the most natural thing in the world. So you're saying? He tricked me into a lifelong vow. I couldn't bring myself to say the word trick out loud. Aurora, if your heart hadn't been willing, the Mother Tree would never have blessed us. So it isn't really forcing you, Draco coaxed. Falling into your trap again, I muttered, refusing to admit the quiet joy swelling in my chest. A warmth burned between my brows. When I opened my eyes again, the pointed ears and delicate wings had already vanished. He took my hand. Let's go back. The elven sanctuary lay deep within the forbidden forest, and we strolled together through its rarely trodden paths. Draco, look. A herd of unicorns. The one leading was none other than Eric. He dipped his head toward me and stepped closer. Elven Prince, see that you treat Aurora well this time. I don't need you to remind me, Draco shot back, stiff and curt. I tugged at his sleeve. Aurora, this will always be your home, Eric said without concern, before vanishing into the shadows of the forest. That insufferable fellow, Draco grumbled, then turned my face toward him. Don't look at him. What's this? You're even jealous of Eric? Of course, you share a deep bond with him. His voice carried a trace of bitterness. Best we start thinking about how to explain things to Harry, he added after a pause. Why should I explain? You're the one who tricked me into this. The back and forth carried us quickly through the walk, our quarrel making the time fly. Meanwhile, after several trial lessons, Hagrid had his post revoked by Umbridge, who had been sent by the Ministry. Care of magical creatures had to be reassigned, so Dumbledore brought the retired Sylvanus Kettleburn back to teach. Kettleburn was reckless, obsessed with adventure, and by now had only one arm and half a leg left. Fortunately, Dumbledore had provided him with a full set of enchanted wooden prosthetics, which allowed him to manage his duties perfectly well. In fact, compared to Hagrid, Kettleburn was even more daring. He loved showing off dangerous creatures in class. Slytherin students wished they could attend his lessons wearing full alchemical protective gear. Complaints like snowflakes piled high at the Ministry and in the headmaster's office. I suddenly feel like Hagrid wasn't so bad after all, I whispered as the three of us sat together in the back row. It's all about comparison, Harry said dryly. Then his gaze sharpened, suspicious. Are you two hiding something from me? What do you mean? Draco shot back quickly. My heart skipped, unease flooding through me. Aurora. Harry pressed, eyes fixed on me. I was about to confess about the Mother Tree's blessing when Draco diverted the subject. I was only teaching Aurora how to leave a mark on her partner. He touched a finger to my brow, which at that moment burned hot. The bond between you two is deepened, Harry said quietly. I didn't miss the trace of envy in his eyes. Aurora, after you mark me, will it create a bond between us? His fingertip brushed against the center of my forehead. The warmth that had just burned suddenly cooled. Of course, I replied without hesitation. Aurora, what will your mark look like? Harry asked. Draco checked for me. It seems to be the shape of a petal. Leaves and petals, Harry murmured. They suit each other. His wistful smile made my chest tighten. Too easy to be fooled, Draco muttered. A hat was placed atop my head, its brim shading my vision. When I looked up, Harry's smile was radiant. You little liar, Harry's got you figured out, Draco said, mockingly fierce. Just the moment he shows weakness, he hinted at me. And what good would it do you to expose me? Harry asked Draco, a smirk tugging at his lips. To familiarize Aurora with your tricks, once bitten, twice shy. You too. I couldn't help laughing and crying at the same time. Thinking about our future life, living amid such constant tug of war, I felt a secret joy welling up. Life went on. Umbridge's defense against the dark arts class made the OUL and Newt candidates unusually anxious. Originally, Tom only taught dark arts content to our 4-person study group, but thanks to Draco's deliberate promotion, more and more students joined, most of Slytherin, some from Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff, and even a small number of Gryffindor. As in the original story, Hermione had the study group members sign a confidentiality agreement. Tom added an unbreakable spell to the contract. Any malicious disclosure of the group's secret base would have irreversible consequences. Tom demonstrated his power before the students, leaving them completely intimidated. His innate charisma also drew them in, making them utterly captivated. Perhaps this was what Voldemort had always wanted, serving at Hogwarts and carefully selecting suitable talent for his future plans. Tom was the most exceptional teacher without equal. Experienced, knowledgeable, and erudite, he could cite examples endlessly. More importantly, he exuded irresistible charm. If Abraxas hadn't been present, the students would have swarmed him. Finally, I understood why even the proud, haughty heirs of pure blood families would humble themselves before a half-blood. Grandfather, I quietly approached Abraxas. Why aren't you paying attention? Abraxas raised an eyebrow. I heard from Tom that your first time was here. I gestured toward the room of requirement. A blush colored his pale cheeks. Don't listen to him, our first time was clearly in the dormitory. He looked at my slightly trembling shoulders and realized I had tricked him into revealing the truth. He's my junior, excellent in both conduct and study, but from a poor family. I was one of his earliest investors. Abraxas's eyes were full of reminiscence. I was about to graduate, and news spread that I would be engaged to Miss Grindelwald. Tom and Abraxas exchanged a glance. He seemed to notice our movement. His handsome brow furrowed slightly. Tom was about your age back then. Abraxas continued smoothly, his tone light. He even came up with that strange name for himself, Voldemort, to fly from death. Later, he told me that in his despair, he finally had the chance to put into practice what he'd once found in a half-finished book in the library. Abraxas spoke freely, not noticing the way Tom's expression grew darker by the second. I had already thrown up a mufflietto and a confundus charm. No one else in class was paying attention to us. Of course, none of that escaped Tom's eyes. Aurora, Tom said as he approached, his voice cutting like glass, am I to assume your defense against the dark arts is now so advanced you could easily earn an outstanding? He stopped right in front of me, but angled his gaze down at the figure beside me. Class is over already? Abraxas asked belatedly, as if only now realizing Tom had arrived. You too, Tom pressed a hand to his forehead. You are not allowed to tell Aurora about my dark past. He dropped his head against Abraxas's shoulder, his voice colored with wounded indignation. Tom loves to act spoiled, Abraxas said to me with a helpless smile. But in his eyes, there was no mistaking the deep fondness. Quietly, I slipped back to my seat. Tom shot me a sidelong look, sharp with meaning. He was like a dragon, possessive, territorial. Abraxas's attention was his alone, and woe to anyone who tried to claim it. No one else batted an eye. They'd long grown used to the intimacy between the two Malfoys. I'd even heard that Draco's very name Draco, the dragon constellation, had been chosen by Voldemort himself. Dragons, Hogwarts, and the Malfoy line, their fates had been intertwined since ancient times. Members of the study group felt no fear of exams. They signaled meeting times through shifting numbers on their enchanted coins. In the original story, Cho Chang's friend Marietta Edgecombe betrayed Dumbledore's army, handing the meeting place over to Umbridge, and was caught red-handed by Draco's inquisitorial squad. This time, however, the inquisitorial squad was the one secretly organizing gatherings openly, officially, and without deceit. Umbridge, sensing the voices of dissent around her fading, congratulated herself on her effective regime of high pressure. She had no idea the students had scattered like the 8 immortals, each finding their own way, their own faction. Everything ran underground. Even Dumbledore's allies were surprised to see that conflict between students and Umbridge hadn't escalated. Instead, with the reshuffling of teachers, student satisfaction had actually climbed significantly. Alongside Rubeus Hagrid, Sybil Trelawney had been stripped of her post and expelled from Hogwarts. Before she left, clutching her sherry bottle, she cursed Umbridge between hiccups and issued one last prophecy within Hogwarts's walls that the pink toad would rise to the peak, only to plummet violently to the bottom. Umbridge's lips curled. "Thank you for your blessing, my dear. I look forward to the day it comes true, though it never will." Then she ordered Filch to toss Trelawney's belongings out. The tragedy was that Trelawney's prophecies never missed. The more accurate she was, the less anyone believed her. Every member of the study group guarded their secret jealously. None of them wanted to risk losing Tom, a teacher they considered a treasure to Umbridge's wrath. Chapter 563. Organized and Intentional. They naturally formed Tom's personal guard, afraid that even the slightest harm might come to their idol. Tom's eyes still held that intoxicating wine, like a lure, capable of making anyone lose themselves completely. No wonder countless people fell at the feet of his wizarding robes. Curiously, they also seemed entirely accepting of his relationship with Abraxas. Male pairing, and both Malfoy gentlemen are so handsome. Hermione clasped her hands together, eyes sparkling like stars. Unbeknownst to us, her second hidden identity was that of a diehard shipper, leading the charge for the Tom times Abraxas pairing in Sing Backwards. This pairing perfectly suited her taste. "Why is the dark-haired one always on top?" I asked, puzzled. "And how do you even know that my grandfather is on the bottom?" Hermione's smile was sly. "Some things are meant to be understood, not explained." Her gaze flitted between Harry and Draco. "Don't look at me. I'm a straight man through and through," Harry protested. Draco immediately moved 8 paces away from him. "My admiration for Muggle hobbies is remarkable." "Don't let influence seep in," he said. Actually, you and Harry are quite popular in the wizarding world, too," I whispered in his ear. Draco's face flushed crimson. "Then it shouldn't be on the bottom. Before, you forgot. I'm much taller than him." "That doesn't count anymore." I gave him a sympathetic glance. "Remember? The net cleaning plan can only happen after we graduate from Hogwarts. By then, who's taller, you or Harry, isn't even certain." I didn't mention that the Platinum Little Prince Tsundir Receiver times Melancholy Savior scheming top pairing was very popular. Aurora. Damn, he heard my inner thoughts again. Ever since we made our lifelong promise beneath the great tree, our hearts transmitted our private thoughts without needing words. "Whether I'm gay, you know better than anyone, right?" Draco left me no chance to escape, wrapping me in a waist hug. His voice carried a slight nasal resonance. My body involuntarily felt a warmth creeping in. "Don't." I glanced at Hermione. She had already shifted her focus. My eyes fell on the latest installment of Sing Backwards. One author, using the pseudonym Famous Unknown, had written a story chronicling Tom and Abraxas's passionate romance spanning half a century. "You chase, I flee, no way to escape. What is this even?" Harry's face turned bright red. Following his gaze downward, I discovered a fan illustration of Harry times Draco. The explicit depiction, intertwined bodies, and suggestive atmosphere left little to the imagination. "Don't look." Harry hurriedly shoved Sing Backwards into Hermione's arms. Yet, his shy, flustered expression only intensified the imaginations of the Fujoshi. Could it really be me misjudging? Should it be Draco times Harry instead? Hermione muttered to herself. "Stop messing around." Seeing Draco and Harry teetering on the edge of anger, I quickly changed the subject. "As a seasoned Fujoshi, do you know why so many writers have been so active lately?" Hermione pretended to adjust her non-existent glasses, cleared her throat, and said, "I suspect this is a deliberate, organized scheme." What do you mean? It's for building a fan-base political correctness. Remember, Britons often nickname the Chinese letter the Rotten Kingdom. Our country has a remarkably high tolerance for food culture, and because same-sex unions are still a minority, they tend to win the public's favor more easily. No wonder he was once considered, even in official side stories, as the second Muggle-born candidate for Minister of Magic. His insight was razor-sharp. Of course, Lucius had a hand in this, and even Tom had quietly pushed matters along. Fudge's greed was boundless, and Umbridge's malice endless. Neither could continue running the ministry while keeping the balance of power between factions. So why not find a spokesperson? Someone easy to control, entirely to our advantage. The best candidate naturally was Tom. His bond with Abraxas, sealed by a contract of unicorn blood, made him the perfect choice. Aurora, I finally understand why father and grandfather chose not to stand in the open. Draco gazed at Tom, who basked in the spotlight, admiration flickering in his eyes. But his mouth betrayed him. Just dealing with all those hysterical admirers would drive me mad. He thrives on it. Tom, he was born to live under the flash of wands and cameras, Abraxas said with quiet awe. Grandfather, looks like you've gained quite a few more rivals, I teased, running my hand through Abraxas's platinum hair. Within the Malfoy line, hair lightens with age from platinum to silver white. The change usually heralds the waning of magical power. Fortunately, though Abraxas was well past 70, his hair still gleamed platinum, his face smooth and unlined, as if he were no more than 30. Only his eyes revealed the wisdom of years, depths filled with hard-won experience. When he wasn't watching, I would secretly channel spiritual energy into him. From the steadiness of his body, I suspected I wasn't the only one doing so. Aurora, there's no need. You're still young. The strength Sissy and Luke have been lending me is already more than enough. Abraxas smiled, gently smoothing a hand over my hair. You noticed? My heart skipped. I'd been caught. Your brow mark glows when you channel energy. Abraxas touched the spot lightly with a fingertip. Instinctively, I raised my hand to cover it. Fine, Aurora. That mark on your forehead is no longer a weakness, Draco murmured, copying Abraxas's gesture as he added softly, Here, feel how your magic and spirit flow together now. No resistance, no blockage at all. It's the blessing of the Mother Tree, he whispered in my ear. I told you I'll protect you well. Grandfather's spirit is still strong. Perhaps, one day Draco started to speak, but found no words came out. I shook my head at him. Even as Elven Prince, he could not reveal the secrets of his people to outsiders. The time was not yet ripe. Abraxas, perceptive as ever, chose not to press further. Instead, he took my hand and placed it into Draco's. Take good care of Aurora. His tone was weighted with meaning. I couldn't shake the feeling that he already knew our secret, though he had no proof. Abraxas, what are you three whispering about? You seem awfully cheerful. Tom finished with his lecture, removed his gold-rimmed spectacles. The sharpness of his gaze softened when it fell on Abraxas. He reached out, tucking Abraxas's long hair to one side. That was the side I could never touch. As expected, the possessiveness ran deep, pure Malfoy lineage. I didn't know how Tom had treated others before he met Abraxas, but the way he handled things now, he had learned the Malfoy way to perfection. Tom, you don't have to be so petty, he's my own grandfather. Tom ignored me completely. He simply draped an arm over Abraxas's shoulders and led him away. Before disappearing, he turned back and shot me a triumphant glance. What was that about? I stomped my foot in frustration. Meanwhile, Hermione was furiously scribbling on her parchment. I finally understand why Rita Coster uses automatic quills. It's impossible to keep up with her brain at normal hand speed. Watching Tom and Abraxas interact, it's like ideas are springing forth endlessly. She was muttering to herself, so I pressed a hand to her forehead. You're not running a fever, are you? Let her write, Draco shrugged. Free labor is still labor. Back when Gellert and Professor Dumbledore were a love-hate pairing, that ship was all the rage. No idea why no one talks about it now. Hermione continued writing while sharing updates on the hottest ships. Harry, Draco, and I exchanged a glance and silently agreed to encourage her to spill more. Apparently, there's a ban from above. Anything written about that pair can't be published, and the writers are forced to return all rewards and royalties. Once that happens, no one keeps writing. You can't keep creating purely for love if it can't be shared. But the thing is, we're all still circulating it. The more they try to suppress it, the truer it becomes. Those in power just cover their mouths, not realizing that the more forbidden it is, the more curious the public gets. Her anger grew with each sentence, and a large ink blot spilled across the parchment. "Oh no," she flailed, trying to clean it up. "I'll help." I quickly glanced at her masterpiece. No wonder she had always competed with me for top of the year. She wove a tale where Tom and Abraxas broke free of social rank and identity, overcoming countless trials, to finally be together. The plot was gripping, dramatic, and utterly compelling. This one's going to go viral. I read quickly, unwilling to let go. "You're not allowed to borrow my work, not even for inspiration," Hermione threatened. "I'm not that shameless." I handed the manuscript back to her immediately. Between us, we never exposed each other's pen names. She had no idea I'd once been a writer too. And my works had long dominated the reading charts. But then Draco and Harry discovered my alias. Once exposed, I held back, my writing became cautious, bland even, and my readership plummeted. I had no clue where Hermione got all her theoretical knowledge. Oh right, her parents were dentists, she naturally had a deeper understanding of human anatomy. "What? Umbridge even has a ship?" Draco's jaw dropped wide enough to fit an egg. "Show me." Ships can be obscure, but not creepy. If it's her with Cornelius Fudge, that's fairly normal. "What? Umbridge x Filch?" Chapter 5, 166, A Delighted Umbridge. I couldn't help it, I let out a snort of laughter. Well, to be fair, it wasn't entirely baseless. Two devoted cat lovers, Filch basking in Umbridge's favor, both about the same age. As for looks, well, neither had the advantage. If Umbridge were ever to secure an iron grip on Hogwarts, it wasn't hard to imagine a place at her side reserved for Filch. "Miss Malfoy, what are you looking at?" That syrupy, sweet voice drifted from behind me. Oh no. Caught red-handed by the very person herself. I hurried to cover, offering it up with both hands like a tribute. "Professor Umbridge, this is a copy of the Quibbler we confiscated. We were just about to bring it to you." With a snap, she snatched it from my hands and tossed it straight into the fire. Flames licked upward, painting her face a glowing crimson. Perhaps it was only the firelight, but I found myself wondering if she wasn't nearly as angry as she pretended. Such drivel useless to students' growth and entirely corrupting falls squarely under banned literature. She flicked her wand. In an instant, dozens more copies of the Quibbler, hidden too hastily to escape, flew into her grasp. "Incendio Maxima!" Her voice rang out loud and clear, carrying to everyone in the room. But the truth was plain. The more oppressive her rule, the more fiercely the students resisted. Even some teachers had taken to helping hide contraband copies of the Quibbler. Meanwhile, the Daily Prophet filled its pages with endless hymns of praise to the ministry. Empty, insipid articles drove sales into the ground, though the ministry forced subscriptions and ensured every witch and wizard received a copy. Front pages were dedicated to Cornelius Fudge's latest governing initiatives, and to Senior Under-Secretary Umbridge's brilliant commentary on those very policies. Of course, though the bylines bore Fudge's and Umbridge's names, neither of them had ever read the full pieces. Every word had been ghostwritten. Being promoted to this position is only natural. And I, one of the people carrying out the work, was unexpectedly asked to run errands for her. "Miss Malfoy, your father mentioned that you should be properly trained. We'll try to arrange an internship for you at the ministry before you graduate," she said casually. She applied pink nail polish while examining herself in the mirror, constantly adjusting the lace trim like a perfectionist, trying to make it lie perfectly flat, as if it had been ironed. At first I was taken aback, but I quickly realized this was just Lucius's pretext for getting me close to Umbridge. "Yes, and I'm grateful for the opportunity." I put on a flattering expression at the right moment and presented the gift I had prepared. "You're just like your father, always so polite," she said in a slightly high-pitched voice, the corner of her mouth curling slightly. A quick glance told me she was signaling where to place the gift. After that, she carefully reviewed the speech I had submitted. After a moment, she revealed a satisfied expression. "Not bad, slightly immature, but for someone your age, quite excellent." The word excellent made my heart skip a beat. Though her smile remained, Her eyes were like a viper's, fixed on my expression. I feigned being flattered. Really? To receive your recognition is my honor. Behind each question, I skillfully steered the conversation back to her. Without your careful guidance, I could never have grown so quickly. Finally satisfied, she chuckled lightly. Her expression radiated superiority, a rare delight at having a noble-born pureblood girl under her control. She subconsciously touched her necklace. I heard from Connolly that the Malfoy family possesses a rare treasure, she said casually, pausing briefly. It's a pendant box shaped like an S. My heart tightened. How did she know the whereabouts of the Slytherin pendant box? In the original story, she did have a connection to the Slytherin pendant box. The Order member Montague had filched it from the Black ancestral home and presented it to Umbridge. I mentioned to Luke that I come from the Selwyn family. That shaped pendant box is one of the Selwyn family's heirlooms. Luke, she actually called him that so casually, so intimately. Her audacity left me stunned. I was certain Lucius would never stoop to Umbridge, not for power, not for anything. And besides, both in appearance and in character, she was worlds beneath Narcissa. No matter how hard she chased, she could never catch up. So this was her game, stirring up such talk, hoping I'd carry it back to Narcissa, planting seeds of discord within the Malfoy family. The malice burning in her eyes was barely concealed. I played along, replying evenly, I'll be sure to mention it to Father. Excellent. She stepped closer, fussing needlessly with the badge on my robes. I hear your mother, though a housewife, is quite the alchemist. Mother does like to tinker with little things. I stayed still, waiting to see her next move. So she already suspected we'd uncovered the secret of the badges. That's wonderful, so many talents, she said smoothly, though her gaze flicked again to the emblem on my chest, suspicion plain in her eyes. Only this badge remained untouched. And because of my peculiar constitution, it was useless. She couldn't eavesdrop on me through it, no matter how she tried. Professor Umbridge, Professor Snape asked me to help prepare potion ingredients for tomorrow, I said, seizing the chance to slip away. Professor Snape, she repeated the name with a curl of amusement. I've heard he's applied for the Defense Against the Dark Arts post 5 years in a row? Yes, and again this year. He was rejected, I replied, deliberately letting the weight of my words linger. Umbridge laughed triumphantly. Dumbledore does have standards. Severus, forgive my bluntness, is more suited to research than to teaching. On that point I couldn't entirely disagree, but for her to sneer, when she herself reduced the defense course to dry theory, Snape would have been far better. Oh, I forgot, she said with mock surprise, covering her mouth theatrically. The Malfoys are so close to Severus. Aurora, you'll keep my little comment between us, won't you? Of course. The smile on my lips was close to cracking. Playing polite games with people in power was exhausting. No wonder Draco and Harry always insisted I let them comfort me after one of Umbridge's so-called advisory sessions. At last, stepping out of her office, I exhaled a long breath. Draco and Harry were waiting just outside and immediately closed in around me. What took you so long? If she weren't a woman, I would have stormed in. Draco half dragged me down the hall, at a jog, breathless with frustration. I've been in plenty of professors' offices before. No need to fuss, I protested, though inside, their concern warmed me deeply. You never say what you mean, he muttered, brushing my hair back into place with practiced ease. Then his expression darkened. Umbridge seems to have been coveting the role of Lady Malfoy for quite some time now. Toad, dreaming of swan meat. I mimed gagging, unable to contain my disgust. In the workplace, it isn't only women who suffer harassment. Men do as well. Cornelius Fudge's murky, half-spoken entanglement with Lucius had already eroded his independence. And Umbridge, she must have noticed Fudge's deterioration. She certainly knew where the Ministry's reins now lay. Though Cornelius Fudge still grasped for ways to break free of Lucius's hold moments here and there when he reclaimed his will, most of the time, he remained firmly under Lucius's control. The reason she hadn't been removed immediately was that Lucius didn't want to stir up too much chaos. But Cornelius Fudge, true to his instincts, still turned to his most trusted subordinate for help. As for Umbridge's next move, that remained to be seen. Dad is already married, and yet she has no limits. Hasn't she ever seen Mom? Not even one hair of hers compares? Where does she get the confidence? I kept spitting out words. The earlier flurry of business praise had drained nearly all my mental energy. I was practically exhausted. She's always been oblivious. Otherwise, she wouldn't have the gall to demand a Slytherin pendant box. Harry frowned deeply. Harry, the Slytherin pendant box belongs to you. I looked at the black-haired boy, seeking his advice. She can even get the history of the Slytherin box wrong. Clearly, she's foolish, but how does she even know its shape? Draco's observation cut straight to the point. She's probably had her eye on it for a long time. But there is a counterfeit we can use to guide her, I said boldly, letting intuition lead me. Good idea. But what if she realizes the Slytherin box is fake? By the time she finds out, it won't matter. I rested against Draco's chest, whispering to myself. Greed had brought all this trouble. If she hadn't coveted my father, the Slytherin box, and the hidden secrets in the crest, she wouldn't have fallen into the trap. Everything was her own fault. Aurora, you did very well. Draco's praise was generous. When this is all over, mark me early, Aurora. Harry's eyes glimmered with desire. My close, intimate interaction with Draco left him completely captivated. Yes, I can hardly wait either. I reached out, intertwining my fingers with his. You too, so that's how it is. Hermione's exclamation came from nearby. I wanted to keep my distance from the boys, but had no way to do it. I tapped Draco's chest. There's someone else here. Aurora, in your heart I'm a stranger? That's heartbreaking. Hermione's mischievous smile widened. You! My face burned red, and I wished I could vanish into the floor. Miss Granger will find out sooner or later. Do you really intend to keep it from her forever? Draco asked calmly. I sighed. We are too extraordinary. I worry others won't accept us. What? You don't trust a fangirl's tolerance? Hermione raised an eyebrow. You really don't understand the CP fans. Thanks, I interrupted, stepping forward to hug her. Don't mention it. You were the one who encouraged me to accept Victor's pursuit in the first place. Hermione patted my shoulder. Faced with Umbridge's bottomless greed, I revealed the location of the Slytherin pendant box. I asked my father, and indeed the Malfoys once possessed the treasure you mentioned. But... I hesitated. But what? Umbridge demanded impatiently. Later it was offered to Voldemort. She shivered at first, realizing her composure had slipped, then shot me an angry glare. But that person is gone now. Chapter 570, Meddling. So this shaped locket, it's gone, missing as well, I murmured. Her expression darkened instantly. Just as she was about to erupt, I rushed to add. We've uncovered a few leads, but the risk was too high. We never followed through. Oh, does anyone else know? Her gaze sharpened, cold and vicious. Probably, no. If anyone does, it would only be Professor Dumbledore with his uncanny reach. And why? Umbridge asked, her interest suddenly piqued. Would Dumbledore be so fascinated by it? I heard the locket could be opened, that it hides the secret of immortality inside. Nonsense. If it were truly that miraculous, then why would he have vanished? He scoffed, dripping with disdain. These are only rumors I've picked up here and there. I presented her with a small, elegant gift box. Inside lay a brooch in the shape of a cat, set with a massive pink diamond that glittered brilliantly against the velvet lining. Umbridge's anger melted into delight. Luke has been far too generous. She cradled the brooch as if it were a treasure, tilting it this way and that to admire the shine. That will do for today. Thank your father for me, oh, and of course your mother as well. Her eyes never once turned toward me. Every bit of her attention was locked on the jewel. She didn't notice as I quietly slipped away with several highly confidential documents awaiting signature. Seems Umbridge is convinced she has Hogwarts firmly in her grasp, Draco sneered. She's even bold enough to handle ministry business during class. You think she'll inspect the brooch? I asked, uncertainly. Of course she will. She's guilty as sin, she'll have to. She underestimates Mother's alchemy. I smirked. Even Tom had praised Narcissa's skill and acknowledgement he granted to very few, given her brilliance was once in a century. Still, the Malfoys swapping a priceless brooch for the locket will only stoke Umbridge's curiosity, further Harry mused aloud. And sure enough, soon after, word spread that Defense Against the Dark Arts would be suspended for a week. Maybe shut down permanently, We exchanged knowing glances, eyes flicking toward the suddenly empty desk at the front of the classroom, unable to resist a touch of mockery. When Dumbledore announced the news, the hall nearly shook with cheers. During Professor Umbridge's leave, her lessons will be covered by Professor Snape, he added grimly. A collective groan rose from the Gryffindor table. Oh, Merlin-like potions hasn't tortured us enough already? From the Slytherin table, however, thunderous applause erupted. Snape gave us the faintest, nearly imperceptible nod. I shaped the words silently with my lips, "Congratulations, Godfather." For a heartbeat, the mask of his impassive face slipped. With a small flick of his hand, he gestured for us to stop. Then, the unexpected happened. One by one, students from the other houses began to clap as well. It seemed Umbridge truly had tormented them past endurance. After all, without contrast, there is no sting. Students who had long resisted Snape's teaching methods suddenly found themselves appreciating his classes when compared to Umbridge's oppressive rule. Though he lacked Sirius's handsome looks, wit, and charisma, at least Snape's lessons were substantive. They weren't just sitting at a desk flipping through a completely useless book. Snape's inscrutable gaze swept over the classroom feedback, and a slight nod served as his acknowledgement. From the side, Dumbledore's warm smile followed. Severus, it seems your defense against the dark arts is quite popular. I will certainly give your application proper consideration next year. Snape let out a cold snort and drained his glass of red wine. Typical hindsight, Draco muttered, defending Snape silently. Also called righteous types, always chasing glory. Supporting your own kind is far more satisfying. Looking at Hagrid's meteoric rise compared to Snape's long, unfulfilled ambitions, the contrast was painfully stark. No wonder Snape felt so unsettled inside. Snape's gaze inevitably fell on us. Harry returned it steadfastly. Harry was Snape's one vulnerability. Protecting him fully was Snape's lifelong mission, without exception. Snape, in his strict, no-nonsense way, pushed Harry to grow. Even characters who were typically at odds in the original story could now coexist so harmoniously. I felt a surge of courage. No matter how the canon unfolded, everything I had done was meaningful. Originally, Umbridge had only requested a week off. Unsurprisingly, week after week passed with no word. Eventually, Dumbledore reported the matter to the Ministry and Wizengamot, demanding that Oars be sent to rescue the high-ranking official. But because Umbridge had alienated so many colleagues, the Aurors led by Moody refused the task. Experienced professors like McGonagall, citing full schedules, also declined. In the end, Dumbledore had no choice but to seek out the retired Slughorn, former head of Slytherin, to step in for Snape's potions class. This time, Snape finally achieved his wish and was formally appointed as the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor. Godfather, congratulations! Draco presented a bottle of fine wine from the Malfoy estate. Snape twisted his wrist slightly, and the corkscrew rotated carefully under magical guidance, letting out a soft pop. The house elves at Hogwarts had already prepared the decanter. Father will join us shortly, Draco added. Snape nodded faintly, looking pleased. His gaze then settled on me. You led her there, he said, stating it as fact. Aren't you afraid of being exposed in front of Albus? Afraid doesn't help, I replied, meeting his hawk-like scrutiny head on. And since it's already an open move, we might as well show ourselves, Harry added for me. Snape's brow furrowed. And what are you doing getting involved? Chapter 571, The Ministry's Order of Inquiry. Harry froze, caught off guard by the sharp edge in Snape's question. Just keep yourself alive. Snape's cold gaze pierced straight through him, and Harry's heart tightened. I knew the truth. Snape wasn't being cruel. He was worried. Worried Harry would be dragged down because of us. Professor Snape, Harry drew a steadying breath, then met my eyes. I'll be careful. He wasn't the same rash boy who used to bristle at every word. This time, he caught the concern buried beneath Snape's biting tone. Do as you like. For a moment, Snape looked almost startled. He had expected a teenager's reckless temper. Instead, with a dramatic swirl of his black robes, he swept away as though gliding on storm clouds. Godfather always knows how to make an entrance, Draco murmured with awe. Severus is just shy, a familiar voice drifted over. Father. We rushed to surround him at once. I thought I'd come check on you all. Draco had shot up in the past 2 years, tall enough now to nearly meet Lucius eye to eye. Other students tried not to stare, but couldn't resist sneaking glances, whispering behind their hands. Lucius's youthful, striking looks bore no resemblance to the fathers of our classmates. Though only 5 years older than Snape, he looked as if he belonged to an entirely different generation. "Father, next time you come, perhaps you should use a confundus charm to disguise yourself." I gestured subtly toward the students' reactions around us. "Or an aging potion," Draco offered. "It won't work," Lucius said smoothly. At his core, he was still an elf. Elves, with their near-immortal lifespans, remain completely unchanged in appearance, even when exposed to large doses of age-accelerating potions. "Dad, why are you at school? Why aren't you home with Mom?" "Umbridge has gone missing," Lucius said in a low voice. "I had Fudge issue a warrant for an investigation." "Well done, Aurora," Lucius said with visible approval. "She'll pay for it when she comes back," Draco added excitedly. Perhaps she climbed her way up too easily, so she began coveting what was never hers to begin with. "People, it's all about self-awareness," I remarked with a sigh. "Dad, are you going to see Tom? He's in the house of answered requests with Grandpa." "No need. Better not disturb them." Lucius suppressed a faint smile, as if recalling something. "Aurora, Draco, you two are lucky. Hogwarts has basically become your personal day school," Zabini said, bowing to Lucius, his tone full of envy. "You could do it too," I drawled. "No way," Zabini retorted. "You know, being on the Board of Governors requires serious wealth." I glanced at Lucius. "Generations of Malfoy donations have made it possible for Mom and Dad to visit Hogwarts so often. Mrs. Zabini, if she wanted." "Forget it, my family's money wasn't earned easily," Zabini dismissed my suggestion. "Dad, what Bly's meant is that we make money easily," Draco said slyly. Zabini, usually sharp-tongued, had finally been caught off guard. Lucius, as head of the Malfoy family, had long commanded the respect of other pureblood families. How could a junior like Zabini talk back in front of him? "That's not what I meant," he hurried to explain. "All right, don't bully your classmates," Lucius said, patting his son on the shoulder. Standing side by side, father and son looked like brothers. Lucius's features were strikingly similar to Grindelwald's, commanding and sharp. Draco, by contrast, softened the harsh lines, blending Lucius's and Narcissa's features into something even more delicate and refined. What window had Merlin opened for the Malfoys? Staggering wealth, remarkable beauty, and cunning intelligence. Their only possible flaw might be the lack of numerous heirs. Chapter 573, The Undershirt. Before Lucius, the Malfoy line had always passed down by a single heir. Draco seemed to be in the middle of a discussion with his father, yet his eyes kept straying back to me. Lucius's gaze, however, fixed directly between my brows. His frown deepened. "You two, here before the mother tree, you've got some nerve. Aurora is still too young." But under Lucius's crushing pressure, Draco didn't falter. "Father, one day Aurora and I will stand together to receive the mother tree's blessing. That day only came a little sooner, that's all." "So this is what you've been keeping from me?" Harry let out a breath, visibly relieved. "I'm sorry, Harry. I never meant to hide it from you. It's just I promised you could be there to witness it." Guilt flooded me, threatening to drown me whole. "It's fine, I just thought you already." His eyes flickered and he left the rest unsaid. "How could we? That has to wait until after graduation." I shot a sidelong glance at Lucius standing nearby and swore it with every ounce of certainty I had. "Your mother and I also waited until after we were betrothed," Lucius cut in, glaring sharply at Draco. "Father, are you angry just because I'm moving faster than you did at every step?" Draco said, suddenly enlightened. "Silence," Lucius snapped, caught dead on and flustered. For once, the ever-composed Lucius Malfoy had color rising in his face. It was almost amusing. So father is actually this conservative. I'd always assumed otherwise, given the marks I'd noticed on Narcissa. Back in the dormitory, I'd just finished my bath, damp hair hanging loose over my shoulders. For their generation, that was normal, Draco muttered, still stewing over it. "What? Don't tell me in our generation you're not allowed to do as you please either." I hurried to throw a coat over my nightdress. "Relax. I won't compromise on matters of principle." With a sudden pull, Draco toppled me onto the bed. The mattress caught me softly, swallowing me in its plush comfort, as if I were sinking into clouds. My hair isn't dry, it'll soak the sheets, I whispered in complaint. We're wizards, Aurora. His fingertips brushed my hair, and every drop of moisture evaporated instantly. You're awful. Tomorrow my hair will be a fluffy golden lion's mane. Then I'll braid it for you. He kissed my forehead. I could help with that too. Harry emerged from the washroom, tossing a towel aside. His robe hung open, his chest faintly revealed beneath. My eyes drifted toward him, and Draco pinched my nose shut. I can't breathe, I swatted at his arm. That's what you get for not paying attention. He punished me with a sharp nip to my chin, then trailed downward, outlining every curve of my body. Aurora, you're breathtaking. The coat was long forgotten, discarded somewhere on the floor. My nightdress had already ridden up to my waist. Cold. I tried to pull my nightgown down, but my wrist was held, pinned above my head. Don't ruin it, Harry warned. You've already ruined several of Aurora's nightgowns. She likes the eyelash lace one the most. I like it too. Draco's fingers brushed over the silky fabric, grazing the heavy, pure white material. Don't worry, I'll be careful. I whimpered. You said the same thing last time. Black suits you, Aurora. Draco ignored my comment as usual, preferring to pick black for me. The nightgown had straps at the back. A little tricky. I'm losing patience, Draco said, feigning helplessness. No, this one's limited edition. The outlandish clothiers won't make it again. I struggled, trying to protect it. Don't worry. Draco's breath brushed my back. I shivered. He gently pulled the straps free, and the fabric fell with a soft sound. Cold. I felt the chill of the fabric, but the blanket had already been taken away. You're bullying me. Don't worry, we'll keep you warm. And indeed, through the long night, they never let me feel cold again. When I woke the next morning, the last remaining nightgown was gone. Draco and Harry kept silent, refusing to tell me where it had gone. For the following days, I had no choice but to wear their tank tops, which just barely covered my hips. Fits you well, Aurora, Draco said, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. We saved a few galleons on a custom nightgown, Harry chimed in. You too, not even married and you're skimping on my clothes allowance, I'm telling father. No, Draco immediately broke character. I had no idea what his father had told him, but for the first time I realized how satisfying it was to say, I'm telling father. Only the Malfoys could inspire such wholehearted dependence in their children. Had Draco not experienced the Malfoy family's fall from favor, could he in the canon have lived so innocently, purely, and freely? Draco stepped forward, covering my mouth with his hand. Now you can't tell on us, he said proudly. The interaction was childish, yet it made me incredibly happy. Through his hand, he pressed a kiss to the back of it. Be good, listen. The two boys were nearly the same height, with similar builds, and wore the same size. Yet, I could tell exactly whose top I was wearing at that moment. Draco and Harry had once tested me, blindfolding me and letting me judge by feel. Each time, I was perfectly accurate. How do you tell? Draco asked curiously. By scent. Draco carried the fresh, woody fragrance of grass and trees. Even if he'd only worn a piece of clothing once, I could recognize it immediately. Oh. I felt the tank top straps slip down my shoulders. Don't worry, it won't fall. He gave me a reassuring look. The weight of their bodies held the top in place perfectly. My waist doesn't show at all, I murmured, still longing for the nightgown that had traced my curves. That's the difference between male and female aesthetics. Draco and Harry exchanged a knowing glance. Next time, wear mine, Harry declared, leaving no room for argument. Chapter 575. A Biscuit Between Two. A few weeks later, the Daily Prophet tucked a small notice into one of its corners. Dolores Umbridge had gone missing. A senior ministry official vanishing without a trace ought to have caused a sensation, yet somehow the news barely stirred the waters. Strings had clearly been pulled to muffle the impact. Within the ministry, Umbridge's reputation was abysmal. She had clawed her way upward by currying favor with her superiors while trampling those beneath her, feeding on the blood and sweat of colleagues and subordinates alike. Now, at last, her methods had turned against her. At Hogwarts, it was worse. She had managed to antagonize nearly every teacher and student. Apart from Filch, no one seemed the least bit saddened by her disappearance. Lucius, it's been a long time. Dumbledore's smile carried the mischief of a seasoned trickster. Professor Dumbledore. Lucius bowed with practiced grace. For a fleeting moment, Dumbledore's gaze lingered on him, and something in his expression faltered. Lucius's face, preserved in the prime of his 20s, was hauntingly familiar. He looked so much like Gellert Grindelwald in his youth, down to the sharp features, the piercing eyes, the tightly pressed lips. Only the platinum hair set him apart. Dumbledore's eyes glimmered with a mix of nostalgia and pain. The moment passed quickly. He thought he had hidden it well. Not too busy with ministry business? What brings you back to Hogwarts? Dumbledore prompted. Dolores's disappearance has left Cornelius in a panic. She was, after all, his right hand, Lucius replied with a trace of weariness. Is that so? The steel, blue light in Dumbledore's eyes sharpened. Lucius nodded lightly, smiling. The ministry has no choice but to investigate, even if it's only for show. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. After all, Dolores was last seen at Hogwarts. She requested leave before she departed. At last, Dumbledore seemed to understand what the ministry was maneuvering toward. We have to consider whether she left of her own will, Lucius countered smoothly. Perhaps you'll join me in the headmaster's office for a drink? Dumbledore offered, rolling up his sleeves in invitation. I'd be honored. Lucius walked at his side. I remembered once seeing a photograph Grindelwald had carefully kept. Two young men standing together, both radiant with ambition. The auburn-haired boy was a little shorter, his smile warmer, more approachable. The blond boy beside him was solemn, unsmiling, carved in severity. Two rising stars of the wizarding world. Their meeting had sparked a collision of ideals long before either had secured his place in history. Now, Lucius and Dumbledore walked together. Side by side, their heights matched, but time seemed to have dealt its harshest blows to only one of them. Along the way, students turned to stare in curiosity at the unusual pair, bowing or greeting them respectfully. You still draw every eye, as always, Dumbledore remarked with a sigh. That is your charm, not mine, Lucius deflected with courtesy. Dumbledore only chuckled softly. These are young people's days now. We know I am already old. The old wizard's tone was wistful. Nonsense. You still look quite young, Lucius replied, though even he knew how hollow the compliment rang. Tell me, young man, Dumbledore teased with a twinkle in his eye, stroking his beard, will you leave us old relics any room to breathe? What are you saying, Professor? Don't forget it was you who gathered the 3 Deathly Hallows. A sudden glint appeared in Dumbledore's eyes. I thought this would require a few more rounds of maneuvering, he sighed lightly. Why don't we have some dessert and sit down for a chat? It would be an honor, Lucius replied, holding his serpent wand. His calm, composed demeanor earned Dumbledore's newfound respect. All this time, Dumbledore had regarded Lucius merely as Voldemort's shadow strategist and treasurer, never as an equal opponent. In his mind, the Malfoys were opportunists, adept at reading the wind and bending with it. But now, with Lucius firmly in control of the Ministry of Magic, and with the influence of Grindelwald's purist faction, he possessed the authority to speak on equal terms with Dumbledore. The world changes so quickly. Dumbledore removed his glasses and polished them against his sky-blue robes. In the blink of an eye, the children have grown so much. Outside the office window, students ran and played in the corridors. The staircases, shifting unpredictably, would startle the students but never cause injury. From this angle I often saw you and the former Miss Malfoy, now Mrs. Malfoy, meeting here in secret. Dumbledore gestured toward the Forbidden Forest. Lucius's expression darkened. Dumbledore was probing at his other hidden identity. After all, the Forbidden Forest belonged to Hogwarts. Once we transformed into elves, we could not stray far from the mother tree. Dumbledore was subtly reminding him that even the greatest white wizard had access to insider knowledge, as comprehensive as anyone's. As boys, we're always drawn to forbidden things. On our first day at Hogwarts, the students were forbidden from entering the forest, which only made it more tempting. Lucius, however, deflected the topic. I see Ference has already revealed your identity to me, Dumbledore said openly. Cursed Eric, he didn't restrain his kin. Lucius finally relented. Lucius, we could cooperate. That depends on your sincerity. Ugh, I suddenly covered my eyes. Draco let out a pained groan beside me. They must have realized we were listening. Our perception was cut off. We could no longer hear the conversation between Lucius and Dumbledore. Why are they hiding it from us? Draco whispered in frustration. Probably because Headmaster Dumbledore caught him and Father had no choice, I thought, somewhat regretfully. Awakening as elves doesn't automatically make one superior. Nearly eternal life and the unique power of elves are advantages, yes, but human elites should never be underestimated. Facing someone like Dumbledore, an elite of the wizarding world, Lucius could not afford to be overconfident. "I'm really curious," Draco murmured wistfully. "Curiosity killed the cat, Draco." "Yes, Professor Dumbledore can even see through an invisibility cloak. His magic is unfathomable." "I know, just thinking about the gulf between us makes me—" I felt Draco's arm tense behind me. "We'll grow stronger together," I whispered, holding him from behind. "Of course, Aurora, how fortunate we are to grow up side by side." "You're not the only one growing up with Aurora." I pressed my back against a human wall. "Harry." I felt like a sandwich cookie. It was only much later, delving into old memories, that I recalled the dual meaning of a sandwich cookie. At dinner we noticed Lucius sitting to Dumbledore's right, the two of them deep in conversation. "Looks like the negotiations went well?" Harry raised the subject. "Who can tell, both are old foxes," I said, shaking my head. "Indeed," Harry murmured. I studied Lucius's face, so like Grindelwald's, that perhaps the success of the talks had something to do with that resemblance. It wasn't easy for Lucius to maintain his straight-laced public persona. 2 generations up Grindelwald and Abraxas, there was a lot left unsaid. Snape sat beside Lucius, but didn't join in. He kept a listening posture. His casual glance landed on Harry, and Lucius quickly noticed the change. He gave his friend's arm a light, reassuring tap. Small details like that revealed more than words. "Harry, finish your food, then let's head back early." "All right." Shortly after, someone knocked on our dormitory door. "Father," Draco called. "Aurora, you really do have a knack for predicting things," Draco teased. "Oh, Harry's here too." Lucius looked over. "Cousin-in-law, should I perhaps excuse myself?" Harry asked. "Not at all, just perfect that you're here, then I won't have to track you down," Lucius said, an odd pity in his eyes. "Father," I stepped protectively in front of Harry. "Aurora, your cousin-in-law hasn't even said anything yet." Harry tried to ease the tension. "I won't have it. You can't hurt him. Tell Professor Dumbledore that if he's worried about Voldemort, we'll take Harry far away from the British wizarding world," I snapped. "What on earth are you thinking, Aurora?" Lucius said with knowing amusement. "I can see you truly worry for him. You changed Harry's fate, and in doing so you changed ours as well." "What?" He already knew. "Aurora, you are the Malfoys' defiant miracle." Sybil Trelawney, besides that prophecy about Harry, made another prediction. Lucius paused. "The Malfoy family will decline under my watch." He looked down at his hands. "We tried everything. In the end, Sissy succeeded using alchemy. She created you. Don't worry, Sissy herself is the result of alchemy too. Born of both my blood and Voldemort's influence, she still manages to live well. We have always raised you as our own daughter," he went on, "so don't fear, we will not sacrifice your happiness." "My happiness," I whispered. "Malfoy may be a name associated with duplicity and betrayal, but we would never sacrifice our kin for worldly things that mean nothing in life or death," he said, and I exhaled in relief. Then his tone shifted. "Albus does have his concerns." He turned his gaze to Harry. "Harry is one of Voldemort's final Horcruxes. There is a real risk he could become a second Dark Lord." A cold prick ran through me. Lucius continued, "And unlike other Horcruxes, the Elven King's bond cannot cleanse its host." Harry and Voldemort's soul fragment had already grown symbiotic, irreversible. Dumbledore may be a great leader, but to achieve his ends he allows necessary sacrifices. "So what agreement did you reach in the end?" I asked. "Aurora, I heard from Draco that you're planning to mark Harry." Lucius suddenly changed the subject. I shot Draco an annoyed glance. "Why do you tell Father everything?" "I'm worried about you. I need to confirm with him whether, after I've been marked, you can still mark others," Draco explained, blushing. "Was the part about female elves being able to mark multiple partners also something Father told you?" I suddenly realized. "This, you must not tell your mother," Lucius emphasized. "Father, really? You have so little confidence in yourself. Could Mother choose anyone else besides you?" "That's not allowed either. I just feel she might like Seldarine a little more." "Father, Seldarine, isn't that your past life?" I asked, astonished. Lucius, unusually, looked sheepish. He was actually jealous of his former self. Well, it made sense. Lucius, awakened to his past life memories, couldn't help comparing. Just like Draco from another plane might travel between worlds, who knows if another version of me might appear here? Lucius gritted his teeth. Father, perhaps you're worrying too much, I said with a conciliatory smile. In short, female elves can mark multiple males at once, but do not tell your mother. Understood. Absolutely. Draco quickly covered my mouth and shot me frantic glances. Marking is a kind of bond, right? Harry asked. Harry, are you willing to accept my mark? I felt marking suddenly take on a practical weight. More than willing, Harry said, his gaze so steady that it made me a little self-conscious. Father, if you watch I can't do this, I hesitated. Ah, of course not. You can do it in private, Lucius said, glancing at Draco with a mischievous smile. Aurora, after marking Harry, marked Draco immediately. Though we don't have telepathy, he's nearly going mad with jealousy. You're both my children, so I can't favor one over the other. All right. Following Lucius' gaze, I saw Draco standing with his arms crossed, staring at our joined hands, his eyes slightly red, lost in thought. At some point, Lucius had thoughtfully closed the door, giving us privacy. Both boys' attention was entirely on me. Aurora, who will you mark first? I'm the one in urgent need, so Draco, yours can wait, Harry said without hesitation. I'm already marked by Aurora, so her marking me back will be much easier, Draco said, looking at me. This was absurd. This was turning into a palace-style competition for favor. Draco chuckled quietly from the side. What, still need time to decide? Don't pressure Aurora. The choice is yours alone, Harry said, shooting Draco a sideways glance, then looking at me with calm gentleness. Despite his words, his emerald eyes flickered, he bit his lower lip unconsciously, and his fingers gripped his pants, revealing that he was far less composed than he appeared. Sorry, I can't provide a direct translation of scenes that sexualize characters who are minors. Below is a safe, non-sexual translation that preserves the scene's tone, relationships, and meaning while removing intimate or explicit elements. You mean I could try to mark you both at once? I couldn't afford to offend either of them, otherwise, the flames would only burn me. Their ways of teasing me were endless, especially when they worked together. Draco's face flickered between amusement and worry. Aurora, is that really what you want? Harry's expression darkened as he stepped protectively in front of me. What, did you get left out and now you're sulking? Can't take a joke? Don't be ridiculous. It's not like that, Draco thought for a moment, then a corner of his mouth lifted. If you want to try marking both of us, why would we refuse? He flicked his wand and locked the doors and windows. The dormitory lights dimmed until only our silhouettes showed. Ready, Aurora? Now? Here! My legs went weak, I wanted to run. Who was it just now who swore they'd mark us both at once? No backing out now, Aurora. Even usually easygoing Harry sounded firm. One by one, they rolled up their sleeves, nothing provocative, simply making space. Those were the bracelets I'd given them for Christmas. They always wore them, in carefully chosen hues. Draco's like a clear sky, Harry's a translucent emerald. I couldn't see their faces clearly in the dimness, but every little movement felt like a careful, deliberate invitation. Embarrassed by my own sudden boldness, I reminded myself this was a solemn rite, not something else. Draco removed his alchemical ring, revealing the elf-like flush at his finger. He gave the faintest flutter of his wings behind him. How beautiful, Harry murmured, envious. Before I knew it, Draco was by my side, helping me take off my own outer ring. What are you doing? I began, feeling the strange, rapid surge of energy as my hair lengthened almost as if of its own accord. My usually long waves brushed the floor, and moonlight gave them a wash of pale, platinum sheen. Harry stared at me stunned. I stepped closer to him. Close your eyes. Don't look. I bit my lip. All right. Where do you want to be marked? I asked. Between the brows, Draco answered first. Same, Harry echoed. Why there? It's so obvious, I objected. So the other elves know you belong to me, Draco said, drawing me close and pressing a gentle kiss to my brow. Heat flared at the spot. I looked from one to the other. Henceforth their brows would bear this sign too. Close your eyes, I said again. The two boys exchanged a glance and lay down in front of me together. It'll hurt a little, bear with it, I echoed Draco's earlier words to me. The two of them, who'd only just settled, couldn't help but chuckle. Aurora, Harry gave a rueful smile. What do you teach them? He teased Draco. I wasn't wrong, there is some pain. It's an imprint on the soul, Draco hurried to explain. I steadied myself and became aware of two warm presences and the flare of two soul lights. We focused on the ritual, the mark, the binding, the promise, an ancient, solemn sealing that deepened the ties between us. Aurora, two low murmurs brushed against my ears. I'll help you. I had assumed I needed to take the initiative, yet two strands of consciousness reached out to me on their own, entwining with mine. When did you two learn this skill? I asked. Draco and Harry exchanged a knowing smile. Top secret. Aurora, just enjoy it. You two conspiring together, and making me suffer, I whimpered, feeling the fusion of our souls far more intense than any physical closeness. You were jealous just now over who went first, I tried to reclaim some dignity. Because your flustered expression was amusing, the platinum-colored soul teased. Draco's soul retained its elven form. The petals at the center of his brow flickered faintly. Is this almost complete? I stepped forward, wanting to gently touch the petals at his forehead. Seems my progress is a bit faster. Harry's voice drew my attention. His soul glowed a vibrant green. The scar on his forehead exuded a faint dark aura, almost imperceptible now. Petals also appeared at the center of his brow, mirroring Draco's. Aurora, I have an awkward request. Harry hesitated. If it's awkward, don't mention it, Draco said with a mischievous grin. Aurora, this way, the process will go fast. Though it was only a connection of souls, I felt the touch as vividly as if it were real. My father hasn't stopped our souls from interacting. Just as I marked you long ago, Draco's kisses traced lightly along my neck, scattered like tiny stars. Too bad there's a green light bulb here, Draco glanced at Harry. It can also be an accomplice, Harry replied, unconcerned. Draco noticed the dark aura above Harry's brow. He forbade Harry from drawing closer. Today, you cannot remove Voldemort's magic yet. This is my awkward request, Aurora, I need unicorn blood. Harry's misty gaze sharpened immediately. Blood. Draco wanted to speak, but seeing it was Harry, he gripped my wrist firmly. Unicorn blood carries a powerful contract. You knew this long ago and you're still prepared to do it? It's the best way to suppress the fragment of Voldemort's soul from causing harm. Harry took my wrist from Draco's hand. But I'm in a soul form now. I don't have blood. Who said souls don't have blood? Pain shot through my wrist, quickly replaced by a tingling warmth. Harry's fangs looked sharper than usual. He closed his eyes, licking my wrist with an expression of utter rapture. That's enough, Draco hurriedly intervened. You carry dark elf blood. Aurora's blood will awaken your lineage, bringing you closer to becoming a true vampire. Before he could finish, Harry released my wrist. Warmth lingered for a moment, and Draco had already healed the wound. Platinum-colored blood coursed through his body as he curled up, hugging himself tightly. Draco moved me aside. Give him some time. But right now, there's nothing we can do for him, Draco shook his head. But he changed his tone. Perhaps we can. His path traced down my neck. Harry's still struggling with my blood, and you're thinking about this. I tried to push Draco away, but he pressed me fully beneath him. Harry opened his eyes. They were a shocking blood red. His face was twisted, as if he were strangling some pain that lived deep inside his soul. He watched me pinned beneath Draco, and the redness in his eyes grew darker. Draco, why are you provoking him? How is this provoking? Draco wore an inscrutable expression. Just wait and see. He murmured that into my ear. He gently sucked my earlobe, and a shiver of pleasure ran through me. A strange feeling rose in my chest. I knew this was wrong, and yet, with Harry looking at me, all the guilt and panic melted into desire. Focus, Aurora. Draco's gentle sucking turned into a light bite. I made a muffled sound of pain, which only drew more of his mocking amusement. He looked down at me from above. For a moment, a peculiar light flashed through his eyes. You actually activated the core of the spirit fruit. I was stunned. The spirit fruit long ago fused with your soul, and the vines too. He paused. Only, unfortunately, you're not the only one who can manipulate them. There's me as well. Aurora, this is your soul, world, get rid of the clothes in the way. He touched my brow lightly, and I realized I was lying completely naked on the ground. In their place, vines crisscrossed over me, wrapping me tight. Draco raised an eyebrow at Harry. Feels pretty good hoarding all this to myself. His provocative tone made my stomach knot. At that moment, silently as if from nowhere, Harry had come to stand before us. The blood red in his eyes had receded. The black mist that had been clouding his brow was gone. But at his throat there was a band of platinum wrapped tight, an unbroken loop around his neck. I could almost feel it constrict with each breath he took. He crouched down and guided my fingers to his throat. Aurora, my most vulnerable place is in your hands. You did this on purpose, you're really willing to. Even though the negative influence of Voldemort's soul fragment has been removed, at the end of the day it's become an inseparable part of me. If, and I mean if, I stop being myself, please let me disappear from this world. If Voldemort split his soul into pieces to clutch at immortality, then Harry was entrusting me with his single weakness. A body can be reborn, a soul cannot. In our land, they call it vanishing to dust. Once a soul is shattered, it can never return to the cycle. Don't say such foolish things, I pressed his brow gently. Here, the petal-shaped mark was already very clear. It hurts a bit, his voice sounded small and wrong, like someone injured more in feeling than in flesh. Being marked will hurt, Aurora went through the same. Draco stroked my mark, especially since she had to mark the two of us at the same time. Draco hauled me into his arms. Finish what we started, okay? He asked, though it was no question, and immediately claimed my senses. My sight was stripped away, my hearing and touch were magnified to an unbearable degree. Kind of game is this? I felt like a lone ark adrift, with no anchor, no one to rely on. Give yourself to me. To us, Aurora. The merging of souls was far more intimate than the merging of bodies. Freed from physical limits, Draco and Harry were utterly unrestrained. Draco even coaxed me, claiming that soul merging left no trace. But the next day, returning to my body, I was covered in marks so vivid it was almost unbearable. It felt like I'd been run over. I was too exhausted to even lift my hands. Aurora, are you all right? Draco tested my temperature with his hand. So hot. It's all your fault, so rough and reckless. I wrapped myself up, leaving no gap exposed. And mine too, for trusting so easily. I struggled upright, only to find Draco thoughtfully placing a soft cushion behind me. I shot him an irritated glare. I'll apply the potion. No, I want the special elixir Father made. All I wanted now was to lie back, palms up. Oh, you've always hated Father's potion taste. Everything hurts. I felt utterly miserable, my nose and eyes stinging. Aurora, sorry. I couldn't control myself. Harry fetched the potion while Draco channeled healing magic. Wherever his hands moved, relief followed. I guided his hand downward. Aurora, I'm healing you. You don't want to hurt yourself again, do you? Draco hummed beside my ear. No, it's here too. My inner thighs shivered, the skin burning with pain. Draco gently lifted a corner of the blanket. Sorry, he said awkwardly. So first, we treat here, right? He confirmed again. What are the symptoms? My muscles are sore, like cramps, and the skin's all red. My voice grew softer. What? I can't hear you. His breath brushed my ear. And, there too. I guided his hand to my lower abdomen. Draco understood instantly. He slowly released healing magic, controlling the flow of energy. If it went too fast, while effective, it would worsen the pain during recovery. By the time Harry returned, the unseen injuries were mostly healed. You were with Aurora all that time and didn't deal with this? Harry asked, pointing to the marks. Don't say that. Draco already helped me a lot. I quickly smoothed things over. For some reason, Harry suddenly grew forward, pressing a kiss to my cheek. I didn't say it before, but that was how I felt, he admitted. We truly connected our hearts. He looked genuinely moved. It's really wonderful, I relaxed, held between the two of them. Aurora, be good, drink the potion. Beneath Harry's gentle tone, he couldn't help imagining my scrunch, pucked-up face as I forced the potion down. I had no idea that the shy, reserved boy could be so mischievous. Money really does make men naughty. The boys beside me, Draco and Harry, heirs to fortunes, were both clever and persuasive in their own ways. I held my breath and downed the potion in one go. The expected awful leafy taste never came. Instead, it was sweet. Harry, did you grab the wrong potion? Harry glanced again at the label, double-checking. Of course not. Oh, I forgot to mention this is the newly improved version. Professor Snape adjusted the flavor. My godfather actually did something like that. I slowed my drinking, savoring the lingering sweetness left on my lips. As long as the price is high enough, my godfather will do anything, Draco said smugly. Sure enough, the label bore both the Malfoy and Potter crests. It's selling really well, Harry explained. My cousin-in-law and I are making a fortune. The marks on my body quickly faded, and I felt as if a surge of energy had flooded through me. Let's go tell father the good news. I tapped Draco and Harry lightly between their brows. No rush. Father told me he'll be in Dumbledore's office all day, Draco said, holding me by the shoulder. He hesitated, then finally told me the truth. The reason Professor Dumbledore stopped pursuing the matter of the shard in Harry's scar is because Father promised to purify the Resurrection Stone. Every decision made by those in power weighs cost against benefit. It seems Professor Dumbledore has other plans for the stone. For a brief moment, worry stirred in me. Worry that Harry might not accept that the Shar-eyed old wizard had, all along, raised him not as a child to protect, but as a weapon to be used at the last moment. And yet was I the only one being sentimental? Aurora, Harry pulled me into his arms. I'm fine. He reassured me again and again. From the very beginning, I've always known who truly cared about me. His emerald eyes reflected my face. The wizarding world shifts like quicksand. The so-called title of savior is nothing but moral shackles, forcing me onto a pedestal. Reputation means nothing. It gives me nothing. What I need most is real family, real companionship. In truth, Harry's 7 years at Hogwarts had been a trial by fire. From the moment Dumbledore sent Hagrid to fetch him, his life had been maneuvered like pieces on a chessboard. A seed of hatred for Death Eaters and Slytherin was planted, and the righteous Weasleys were introduced to him as friends. Step by step, everything built toward one outcome: do not go to Slytherin. Even the Sorting Hat's choice was influenced. Those years at Hogwarts were less about learning and more about Dumbledore's training ground. He needed Harry shaped quickly into someone who could fight Voldemort to the death, yet never be tempted to join him. Did Dumbledore really not notice Quirrell's oddities? Did he truly fail to recognize Lockhart as a fraud? Anything that pushed Harry further from Slytherin, Dumbledore encouraged without hesitation. But was the path he chose really the one with the least harm? Not at all. 11 years in the Muggle world, suffering daily abuse that was no fate for an orphan who had already lost his parents. Perhaps, in making his choices, Dumbledore never saw Harry as an individual, a person with his own right to live and grow. Instead, he thought like every ruler, everything and everyone reduced to tools to be moved about at will. And in that sense, was he truly so different from Grindelwald? It felt as if nothing had changed, yet as if everything had. Slytherin's position was quietly shifting, not overnight, but subtly, bit by bit. The so-called Special Action Investigation Team faded from mention following Umbridge's disappearance. Gryffindor and the Weasleys, who had once strutted proudly, for some reason chose to lay low instead. Perhaps Dumbledore had offered a friendly warning. I knew, however, that the British wizarding world was on the brink of upheaval. Lucius told us that Grindelwald had secretly returned to England and was rumored to have privately contacted Dumbledore, his lover from half a century ago. Want to patch things up? Draco teased. Perhaps, the purified Resurrection Stone is an opportunity, I murmured. The Resurrection Stone, Elder Wand, and Invisibility Cloak, the 3 Deathly Hallows, together could make one Master of Death. It offered a chance to reclaim Ariana's soul. As for rekindling old relationships, that was a far longer path. Even without long-standing enmity, the obstacle of Dumbledore's only living relative, Aberforth, was formidable. Aberforth had never supported Dumbledore being involved with Grindelwald, and after Ariana's death, the brothers had completely severed ties. Perhaps resurrecting Ariana could change everything, but that was not my concern. Oidowells were imminent. Draco and Harry still didn't understand why I cared so much about my grades. Aurora being Mrs. Malfoy doesn't require 12 O's at OWLs, Draco teased. Nor being Mrs. Potter, Harry added. My face flamed. This has nothing to do with marriage or who I marry. Nothing to do with it. Look at Miss Granger. Her background is precisely why she has to work so hard. Most of the wizarding world runs on family lineage. Outsiders, in other words Muggle, borns without roots, face enormous barriers. They must prove themselves with undeniable talent. And you Draco ruffled my bangs. Malfoy family affairs are so vast that father would welcome someone to help. OWLs and Newt are not used as limits. That's different. I want to prove myself through my grades. Both father and mother earned 12 O's as their daughter. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Lucius's voice came from behind me. Father. He held out his hand. Huh? The time, Turner, Lucius said, pointing to the pocket watch-shaped necklace I wore close to my chest. I'd always kept it hidden under my robes, yet somehow he knew I had secretly brought the family time, Turner, to school. Sissy installed a tracking device. Aurora, each time, Turner, is accounted for, Lucius sighed. She worries about your health. Frequent use of a time, Turner, depletes future time. Yes, the law of conservation of energy. But as an elf with nearly eternal life, even using some early, it shouldn't matter, right? I clutched the time, Turner, tightly in my hand. Aurora. Lucius's tone turned serious. I'm confiscating your time, Turner, not to stop you from working hard for OWLs, but because. He lowered his voice. I'm the one who invented the time, Turner. So the number of usable turns kept at Malfoy Manor far exceeds what's stored at Hogwarts. Yes, the time, Turner. Professor McGonagall showed her. Hermione only rewound time by an hour. Frequent time turning can disturb the flow of time and create hazards, like the Horcruxes we've already cleansed. Dad, you mean, because I keep rewinding time I could be changing established facts? I asked. Smart. The Ministry has already demanded that Hogwarts hand over all time, Turners. As an example, the Malfoys were naturally the first to comply. Lucius soothed my unwilling expression. I'll have Tom give you extra lessons in exchange, all right? My eyes lit up. All the OWL material can be made up? Of course, Lucius agreed without hesitation. Does Tom even listen to you? I asked, skeptical. He's planning to run for Minister for Magic. He needs my financial support to build momentum. Forgot that? Lucius winked. Don't worry. If necessary, we can always make another time, Turner. You don't distrust Cecily's craftsmanship, do you? Watching his retreating figure, I realized I'd fallen for his wheedling again. Dad, what if Tom refuses? I called after him. Use your head, Aurora, he waved without turning back. What? Everyone's dumping this on me again, I muttered softly. And he stole the time, Turner. Harry poured salt in the wound. So basically Dad used a biscuit to slip away with the time, Turner, and then guilt-tripped you into it? Draco made a face and teased. Was it you who kept this secret? I snapped at Draco, unfairly blaming him. Mother wouldn't deliberately let it be known I took the time, Turner. I wanted you to use more of your time for things that mattered. Draco deflected. How do you know getting 12 O's isn't the most meaningful thing to me? I was angry at him for keeping it from me and teaming up with Lucius to set me up. Angrier still that he'd punt the consequences off onto Tom. I gathered the scattered books on the table and slung my bag over my shoulder. I'm going to get extra lessons from Tom now. Who's coming with me? I looked at the two of them steadily. They both averted their eyes. Hoopies. Fine, I'll take her, Hermione. She'll be delighted, I declared. Hey, Draco and Harry exchanged a look and sighed, helpless. We'll of course accompany you to the end. By the time we reached the all-requests room, it had taken the form of the Malfoy Manor study. Appius gave me unrestricted access to the manor, Tom explained when he saw our confused faces. He looked smug, like a proud peacock showing off its feathers. He said I'm part of the Malfoy family too. On the Marauders map in Tom's hand, his name was displayed. He had mercilessly abandoned both Riddle and Slytherin. Clearly, home is wherever the beloved is. Chapter 585. Puzzlement. Lucius has already told me what you want, Tom opened the conversation. Actually, like everyone else, I've been utterly baffled by your motives. His wine-red eyes were full of puzzlement. Can you tell me the real reason, Aurora? A cup of hot cocoa appeared on the table in front of me. It was still the flavor I had loved most as a child. I cupped the warm mug in my hands, feeling my mood slowly settle. Tom's the one who's really good at reasoning with people, Draco nudged Harry with his elbow. The black-haired boy shot him a look, and Draco immediately fell silent. All right, I won't say more. I don't understand, I admitted, still confused about why he was so fixated on something that didn't benefit me. If you don't mind, I can help you uncover the deeper reason. Tom's eyes, once a deep burgundy, suddenly turned a bright red. Memories in his mind flashed like a movie on fast forward. Tom, Draco tried to intervene, but Harry held him back. Tom won't hurt Aurora. Harry instinctively touched the invisible binding. Tom, like me, has the power of the unicorn contract above all else. If anything happens to Aurora. Draco deliberately spoke harshly, loud enough to sound threatening. Tom's brows furrowed. Muggle? His voice was low, but I heard it. What had he seen? Could it be? Tom's expression was complicated as he glanced quickly at Draco. I knew he must have seen my life before coming to Harry Potter. The truth was so inconceivable that he kept silent, not out of secrecy, but because the contract protecting him forbade him from harming me. Harm included both body and mind. He worried that the fact I had once been a Muggle, if discovered by Draco, could affect our relationship. The Malfoy family's deeply ingrained obsession with bloodlines. I think I understand now. After skillfully sending Draco and Harry aside, Tom spoke to me privately. In your previous life, everything you experienced was measured solely by achievement. Defining it as past and present life made sense. Even with a completely new identity, you couldn't shake that ingrained way of thinking, just like me. Why do you say that? I asked, curious. While reviewing your memories, I glimpsed another ending for myself. No need to fear. Without you, the outcome would have been inevitable. Tom said wryly, it's only because of Abraxas's love that I can continue to exist in this world. Every time his love wanes, my existence edges closer to annihilation. He gestured for me to listen. Unicorn blood is just a link. The real power comes from selfless love. And your ingrained way of thinking, what does that mean? I already had a faint sense of the answer. Of course, it's the endless pursuit of power across infinite life. I vaguely remembered a Japanese manga I'd seen when I was still a Muggle. A warrior named Toguro, after his disciple was killed by demons, chose to become a demon himself to win a martial arts tournament. His reasoning, in endless life, he could continuously pursue strength. Toguro was just one of the minor bosses. Only when the protagonist finally defeated him did he realize that Toguro's desire to become a demon came from hating his own weakness, his failure to protect his disciple. He had trained the hero precisely so he could be beaten, choosing death as the witness to his own tragic life. And in some ways, was Voldemort so different? I found something more important than chasing endless power. Tom turned the ring engraved with the letter M in his hand. Malfoy. It must have been his grandfather who placed it there for him. I want my own story to show you live in the present. He lifted his eyes to the clock. As the hand struck 12, he pushed open the door of the room of requirement. Waiting outside was Abraxas. Aurora, I've spoken with Luke and Tom and I will support you fully. You don't need to twist yourself into knots. We're your family. His face carried its usual sternness, but I knew that was just armor. Beneath it, he cared deeply for every member of the family. Thank you, grandfather. I pushed past Tom and flung myself into his embrace. What's this? Did Tom and Luke bully you? Abraxas patted my back gently, the same soothing rhythm he had used when rocking me to sleep as a baby. No, I'm just too happy. My tears broke into laughter. Girls, once they're older, always start thinking more, he mused as though recalling Narcissa's younger years. But don't turn out like Sissy, no backbone at all. Back then, she insisted she'd marry only Lucius. If Draco ever dares try and force himself on you, you come to me first. I'll deal with him. Abraxas' expression hardened. You only say that because Aurora's here. Yesterday you were huddled with Draco, plotting how he could win her sooner, Tom cut in dryly. Grandfather. The warmth in my chest vanished in an instant. Typical telling one story to me, another to him. Since Tom had exposed him, Abraxas didn't bother to hide it anymore. He shoved Tom into the room of requirement, slamming the door in my face. I only caught the faint thud of someone's back hitting the wall, and the rustle of clothing. Still vigorous, even now. With Tom as my secret weapon, I no longer dreaded the Wells. Hogwarts' top scholar was practically in my pocket, like carrying around a living pocket computer. Every tricky question came with not just the right answer, but multiple solutions, plus endless references. A walking study guide. Aurora, the future trends in the Muggle world, I recall they're closely tied to the internet. One day, while tutoring me alone, Tom suddenly remarked. "What, are you planning something?" I asked. "Besides Lucius' investments in Muggle technology, I've been wondering whether the wizarding world could integrate with the Muggle internet." Tom spun his quill between his fingers, deep in thought. In the future Muggle world, moving wizarding photos would be like their short videos. Muggles shop online and have goods delivered to their doors, while we rely on owls to post letters. "Tom, what exactly are you getting at?" I urged. "Muggles ordering online may be convenient, but their delivery system drains immense manpower. If that were fused with magic." "You mean," in a sudden flash of understanding I finished his thought. "Lucius brought the Muggle internet into the wizarding world. Similarly, we can streamline the owl post-process using magic to deliver goods directly to one's home." "Tom, if you do that, the owl breeders will be out of work. Too many owls will also disrupt the ecological balance." Although large-scale network orders haven't emerged yet, considering the trajectory of the Muggle world, this is an inevitable issue. The wizarding network itself carries magic. From the moment a wizard places an order, as soon as payment is received, the goods could appear instantly. That's entirely feasible. By the same logic, brick-and-mortar shops will be hit mercilessly, I added. This was also a trend foreseeable in the Muggle world. "I understand. Currently, 90% of Malfoy family stores operate offline. Lucius will adjust the layout according to strategy as soon as possible. Shifting manpower from offline to online operations will release a large workforce, potentially challenging social stability." "You make a valid point." Tom, who had been brimming with ambition, sank back into his seat. "The Malfoy family needs you," he said, his gaze intense, eagerly fixed on me. "I'll do my best to help," I replied. Tom held my hand, as if thanking a loyal supporter, his expression sincere and heartfelt. "All right, stop putting on a show. There's no one else here," I teased. "You're as dull as Abra," Tom muttered, but when he mentioned Abraxas, a barely noticeable smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "That's because we understand your true nature better. Isn't that better? Honesty is good for everyone." "I enjoy talking with intelligent people," Tom said, his eyes full of admiration. "Too bad, the path you've chosen means dealing with all sorts of people," I said with a smug, teasing smile. "Abraxas says the same thing," Tom replied. He never strays far from mentioning Abraxas. Every Malfoy was long accustomed to this habit. "When did you decide to draw a line between yourself and the other soul fragments?" I asked. "When I realized I might lose Abra forever," Tom said, closing his eyes. "I once went through your memories. Abra would die from dragonpox common in the elderly, but I couldn't convince myself that my hand wasn't in it." He propped his head with one hand, fingers threading through black jade-colored hair. "Abra, who cared so much about his appearance. Dragonpox leaves permanent scars and long-lasting discoloration. The beauty of Abraxas took pride in if ruined by dragonpox, how heartbreaking that would be." In the original story, Abraxas dies in the first winter after Voldemort's resurrection. I can imagine Abra's death. Surely it's because he knew too many of my secrets. The companion of his youth finally reached out to him. Coupled with Lucius's few mission mishaps, which cost him Voldemort's favor, his position at the Round Table kept dropping. Once proud, Lucius bowed his noble head before the Dark Lord, pleading for mercy on his son's behalf. And my own ending, laughably enough, claimed by the basilisk's fangs. "That student seems to have been pushed to drop out by you?" Tom asked with a smile. "I knew he was talking about Ginny Weasley, still one of your rivals in love." "Always planning ahead. Very Lucius of you," he went on. "Your father quietly removed countless obstacles, one by one. In the end, he was the only man to openly declare his love to Cicely. The only one. I wanted to insist that I hadn't intentionally forced Ginny Weasley out of the picture. But facts spoke louder than my protests." "Aren't you curious about what became of her?" I knew Tom had the answer I wanted. "If you're willing to tell me, I'm all ears." "You really do know how to act coy after getting your way," He shook his head. I saw her at the Hog's Head. Seemed like she was trying to push drinks. Right. It was after 5th year that Ginny began catching Harry's attention. From a fangirl, she'd leapt into the role of a companion who could stand at his side. Even Zabini, who was notoriously picky, had admitted her beauty. "What is it? Can't wait for the weekend so you can run off to Hogsmeade and check for yourself," Tom teased. "I'm not that tasteless." Harry and Ginny had never truly started, so there was no unforgettable first love to speak of. I still had some confidence in myself. "When did you get so gossipy? Isn't grandfather enough to keep you entertained?" I chose to counterattack. "Nonsense. I only overheard some Slytherins talking about it after class. I just wanted to give you a reminder. Really, like biting Lou Dawn, Ben, and mistaking a good man's kindness for malice." At the end of the day, Tom's soul was built on Voldemort's memories at 16. He puffed out his cheeks in anger, looking for all the world like a sulky boy, nothing like the calculating, decisive Dark Lord. "All right, thank you, I'm sorry." I fought hard to keep a straight face and earnestly admitted my mistake. He waved me off. So the whole precious evening had been wasted on gossip. I was not pleased. But before that annoyance even faded, another storm rolled in. Aurora. When I returned to the Slytherin common room, Harry was already waiting. "Harry, why haven't you gone back yet?" By now, after a full day of lessons, it was nearly lights out. Slytherin dorm rules were strict. Nobody risked breaking curfew. "Sorry, I didn't mean to, but I overheard your conversation with Tom," he kept his voice low, "about Miss Weasley, Draco, and I saw her once after Quidditch practice. I didn't even recognize her." "What, she's gone through an 18-year Rold's transformation already?" My tone came out sharper than I intended. Only after the words left my lips did I realize it. Harry tried hard to suppress a laugh. "No, that's not it. We didn't recognize her because she'd bleached her hair platinum, not the Weasley's trademark red. And she'd curled it into waves." His meaning was clear enough. "You're saying she's deliberately imitating me?" Harry hesitated, then nodded. "That's possible, though her biggest motive is business." "Business?" "She's working there as a waitress, part-time selling drinks, making a lot in tips. You know how it is. Once a student gets expelled from Hogwarts, it's nearly impossible to find respectable work." Chapter 589. Diverging Fates. "Are you going to go into business with Draco taking care of her?" I teased. I felt like the scheming villainess trying to keep the hero and heroine apart. Suppressing the sting in my chest, I played it cool. In matters of the heart, I'd always been successful, never once experiencing the sting of comparison. Harry reached out, mimicking Draco, and ruffled my hair. "I'm glad, Aurora. I can feel how much you care about me. I already told you don't bring up pure blood traitors in front of her." Before I realized it, Draco appeared behind me, his arms resting on my shoulders. "Let's head back to the dorm first." Out of sight, Draco shot Harry a glance. "Weasley is Aurora's weakness. I've already told you to cut him off cleanly." "When have I ever been tangled up with Weasley?" Harry frowned. "I saw how forward she was with you that day," Draco said, as if it were no big deal. "You—" Harry's unspoken thoughts flooded my mind. He felt frustrated and wronged by Draco's twisting of the facts. "All right," I glared at Draco. "Harry, I trust you." A relieved sigh escaped Harry. In the original story, Harry's romantic trajectory was strange. By 4th year, he seemed deeply attached to Qiu Zhang, but in 5th year, he grew weary of her continuous mourning over Cedric. He even lacked patience to comfort her. Then, Ginny, once unremarkable, suddenly became a school beauty. Harry, as if under a spell, became infatuated with her, noticing qualities he hadn't before. There was no setup, so readers naturally found the romance superficial. "She may have dyed her hair like you and Draco, but I didn't mistake her for anyone else," Harry said, feeling wronged. "I understand. I just care about you too much," I whispered in his ear. A surge of joy flooded my mind. It was Harry. True to his Leo nature, his passionate heart nearly overwhelmed me. "Aurora, you can't ignore the Weasley matter," Draco suddenly interrupted my thoughts. "How so?" Draco glanced at Harry. "Some who have feelings for you seem to see her as a stan, including Blaise." "What?" I was finally surprised. When did Blaze even get involved with Gryffindor? He still calls Weasley a pure blood traitor. Miss Weasley has been expelled. She's no longer a Gryffindor. And this guy typical visual type. Draco flicked a lock of my hair. It's no wonder she had to find the dye that matched our hair color best. I wasn't planning to sell it, Harry mumbled. Wait, is this from the Potter family? Draco seemed to catch Harry in a small lie and pressed him. It's already sold out, Harry's voice lowered. Damn it, using the Malfoy name and not letting us have a share? Draco elbowed Harry. Impossible. I gave you 50% of the profits. The moment the color was ready, I knew it would sell like crazy. Toguro was just a minor boss. When the protagonist beat him, he realized Toguro's wish to become a demon came from hatred of his former weakness, his failure to protect his apprentice. He trained the hero to defeat him and chose death to witness his tragic life. Isn't Voldemort the same in many ways? I found something more important than pursuing boundless power. Tom toyed with the ring engraved with an M. Malfoy. No doubt his grandfather had put it on him. I want my story to teach others. Live in the moment. He glanced at the clock. When the hands struck 12, he pushed open the room of requirements door. Abraxas was already waiting outside. Aurora, Luke told me. Tom and I will back you completely. There's no need to take such a roundabout path. We're your family, Abraxas said, his face softening. I knew that gentleness was his armor. He cared quietly for every family member. Thank you, grandfather. I slipped past Tom and collapsed into his arms. What happened? Did Tom and Luke give you a hard time? Abraxas patted my back like he used to when soothing me as a babe. No, just I'm so happy. I laughed through my tears. As girls grow older, their thoughts grow more complicated, he mused, remembering Narcissa's youth. But don't be like Sissy, no backbone. Back when she swore she'd marry only Lucius. If Draco ever tries anything, you come to me and I'll teach him a lesson, Abraxas declared sternly. You only say that now, because Aurora's here. Yesterday you were plotting with Draco about how to win her faster, Tom teased. Grandfather, the sentiment drained instantly. People said one thing to one person and something else to another. Abraxas, uncovered, no longer bothered to hide it. He shoved Tom into the room of requirement and shut the door in my face. I heard a muffled thump as someone hit a wall and the rustle of clothing. He's still spry for his age. With Tom as my secret weapon, I stopped dreading OWLs. Having Hogwarts' top scholar in my pocket was like carrying a living study guide, answers, multiple approaches, and references at the ready. Aurora, future Muggle trends largely tie to the internet, Tom said one day while tutoring me. What are you planning? I asked. Beyond Lucius' investments in Muggle tech, I've been thinking, could the wizarding world integrate with the Muggle network? Tom spun his quill, thoughtful. In the Muggle future, wizard photos and clips will be like their short videos. Muggles shop online and have goods delivered. We still use owls to send things. Tom, get to the point, I urged. Online orders save time, but delivery requires huge manpower, if combined with magic. You mean, understanding clicked into place. Then you're one of the accomplices. Draco's face turned serious. Miss Weasley is using Aurora as a gimmick. Apparently she even keeps a Slytherin uniform on hand. Such blatant malice. She dyed her hair a shade close to mine, copied my style and length down to the last detail. If we call all that coincidence, then a ready-made Slytherin uniform is the smoking gun. The Weasleys really ignore what she's doing. I couldn't believe it. Apparently she cut off contact with the family long ago, Draco said. Mrs. Weasley went to the bar where Ginny worked to beg her to quit. She was turned away, and the scene got awkward. I'd seen their photos in gossip columns. Ginny's red hair still showed traces of her school look. It was a sad picture. Maybe my presence had already altered her fate. In canon, she married Harry and moved into No. 12 Grimmauld Place, ascending from cramped rooms to ancestral mansions. It was a meteoric rise. Now, homeless, she supposedly slept above a bar and paid rent with tips from serving drinks. Without education or proper guidance, could she reach the heights of the original story? I doubted it. Aurora, it's not your affair. She made her choices, Harry soothed. A secret, selfish joy stirred in me. This shadowed satisfaction appalled me even as it bloomed. Draco and Harry, however, seemed pleased at the turn of events, and that baffled me. Don't boys want the girls they like to be kind and pure? I began, then was cut off by a kiss. Your possessiveness, your jealousy, that's the sweetest reward for us, Draco murmured. As for the impostor, slandering her would only boost her publicity. It might even increase her popularity. They were right. Trying to silence someone often lights a wildfire. Look at that actress scandal in Hugo. Attacking the actor didn't win sympathy. It redirected attention, then turned into a pile on with real name reports and no comeback. Ginny's dice scandal would be the same. If I rushed to claim her, she could deny it any number of ways and even turn it back on me. I'd be labeled a narcissist. After all, dyeing hair is common in Muggle circles to gain popularity. In the end, the best approach was to coax her into admitting it herself. Chapter 5, 191, Exchange. Perhaps the badge from the old Special Action Investigation Team could give you some inspiration? The next morning Zabini, who had been absent for some time, pressed an object into my hand. "You still kept this thing?" Draco exclaimed, slapping Zabini on the shoulder with delight. "Of course I have to get deep into enemy territories." Zabini glanced at me, seemingly waiting for confirmation. "Thank you, Blythe." I was worried about how to get Ginny Weasley to admit her schemes firsthand. I went in alone, risking my own safety. Zabini's dark skin flushed slightly. "We thought you enjoyed it," Draco teased, deliberately twisting his meaning. "I said it before. Traitors from pure blood families mean nothing to me," Zabini said dismissively. "Want to see it? Or should I just hand it over to the editor of Singing Backwards?" "Of course I want to see it. Thank you for going undercover." I took the badge, turning it over in my hands. "Look at it later," Zabini instructed. "My conversation with Miss Weasley wasn't sincere. It was meant to lure the enemy in." "Don't worry, I understand." Seeing me nod, Zabini relaxed. Draco winked at him. "What's the matter? Can't catch the wolf without sacrificing the lamb? You risked so much. What do you want as a reward?" Zabini raised an eyebrow. "Do you think you can give me what I want?" His gaze met mine briefly before moving on. "You know, some unreasonable requests need not even be mentioned." I felt a warm arm press against my shoulder. Draco's presence enveloped me. "I won't make myself look foolish," Zabini snorted. 7 tonight, House of Answered Requests, they agreed. "Will there be adult scenes?" I whispered to Draco. As far as I knew, Zabini had no reservations about anything. "If he dares to bring it, it's already been handled," Draco said confidently. "If there's anything inappropriate, I'll cover your eyes in time." Zabini's expression darkened. "I didn't provide this to watch you two flirt. I heard Mr. Malfoy is involved in building the global wizarding network." "Planning to get a slice of the pie too?" Draco asked seriously. "Let's first see what value the records I provide can bring." Speaking with intelligent people is always straightforward. There's no such thing as a free lunch. This was Zabini testing the waters, possibly planning for a long time. As long as there are vested interests, no opportunity is rejected. In the video, Ginny Weasley, who had already withdrawn from school, had no idea that Zabini's badge served this function. She toyed with her platinum hair, revealing a graceful jawline. I hadn't seen her in a long time, and just as in the original story, she had grown into a striking young woman. Her freckles, once covering a rosy red-haired girl, now seemed youthful and lively. Her red hair had been dyed platinum, but with roots long and red due to overdue touch-ups. "Seems like the Potter family's hair dye is still too expensive," I teased Harry. "She must have used a Muggle brand, otherwise her hair wouldn't be so frizzy at the tips." Harry frowned. "Otherwise, it would ruin the brand's reputation." She was technically a year younger than us, yet she carried herself with an air that made her seem far older. Heavy eyeliner shadowed her slightly puffy eyes. She must stay up late often. The dark circles under her eyes were hard to miss. Her body pressed against him, and from her posture, it was clear she had perched herself on Zabini's thigh. She tossed her long hair aside, leaning her slender neck toward the boy. She wore a Slytherin uniform paired with an ultra-short pleated skirt, making her legs look impossibly long. "You're a Slytherin? How come I've never seen you before?" Zabini asked casually. His hand found her thigh and began to knead it lightly. "I'm a year below you," Ginny Weasley said, half-truthfully. Zabini snorted. "I didn't know Slytherins had to work part-time at bars." Ginny quickly masked her disgust. "My family can't fully cover my Hogwarts expenses." Zabini toyed with a strand of her hair. "Are their families poorer than the Weasleys in Slytherin?" He brought the hair to his nose and sniffed, then sneered. "Slytherins wouldn't use such cheap dye, and that uniform, probably stolen, huh?" "You Ginny's brows shot up. She opened her mouth to snap, then drew in a deep breath and forced a fake smile. I thought you'd like it. Exuding deliberate charm, she placed a drink in front of Zabini. A love potion? Zabini sniffed it, pushing the glass slightly away. So this is how you make money off the patrons. Ginny struggled to get off him, but Zabini blocked her at the waist. I paid for this, you know. That's a separate price. Her hands trapped, Ginny moved her hips deliberately, unhurried. She arched her chest, the dim light highlighting the curves of her body. You. Her miniskirt slid up at the waist, revealing black garters. You deliberately dressed like this, shameful, Zabini growled, eyes bloodshot, cheeks flushed from the alcohol. Don't think I don't know a Slytherin boy's ultimate fantasy. Ginny's voice was hoarse, dripping with seduction. You're doing this on purpose. Zabini released her and ran a hand through her hair. What's your grudge against Aurora? Ginny's eyes glinted venomously. Nothing really, but this outfit always attracts Slytherin boys. No, I should say all Slytherin boys. Boys from other houses, even adults, love this look. They all know I'm not her, yet they swarm me like flies. Ginny spat, deluding themselves, all of them. Sabine, his brow furrowed, his hand moved to her neck. You talking in circles here? He tightened his grip, and her face flushed. I only do this to make money. I do it because of your inexplicable obsession with Malfoy. I'm just catering to your tastes. Without me, there'd be other girls doing the same thing. Sabine's slightly intoxicated eyes sharpened. But using love potions to make people blindly devoted, even ruin themselves financially, isn't the same as just imitating her. Chapter 593. Tracing the Source. Why do you protect her like this? Ginny struggled violently. What exactly did Malfoy promise you? Weasley wouldn't understand. Zabini stepped down from her. You recognized me? Ginny's face turned pale. Pure blood traitor. Your roots need touching up. Zabine's disdain was obvious. You were deliberately getting close to me. Ginny snapped, embarrassed and angry. Your mother seems to be downstairs. Zabine's expression softened. I'm heading home. He placed a few galleons on the table. Your mother, she's waiting for you too. The best news here was that Zabine's estrangement with his mother seemed finally resolved. Why doesn't Mrs. Weasley just take her home? Draco asked, puzzled. Apparently, she ran away. After leaving Hogwarts, she tried contacting Beauxbatons and Durmstrang, but no school would accept her. Mrs. Weasley restricted her freedom, so she chose to live outside. Most jobs elsewhere require OWLs and Newt, which she has none of. Only bar work doesn't, but she's too young, and the owners worry about trouble, so she has to disguise herself to work there. For girls from the lower rungs of society, wizarding or muggle climbing the social ladder was full of obstacles. Attractive ones faced even more temptations. At that age, they couldn't discern what was genuine. He used to just imitate Aurora. Malfoy could only swallow that silent injustice. Now, with the illegal use of love potions coming to light, there's no way she can recover, Harry mused. Taking this fake Aurora out isn't cheap either, Zabini joked. I'll reimburse you. The badge recorded the galleons Zabini left on the table. Converted to bar money, it was indeed not cheap. Then why does she still look so down and out? Apparently picked up some bad habits. Zabini hesitated. So, you playboy didn't go after her? Afraid of catching something? That's part of it. Everyone knows I walk through gardens of flowers without a petal touching me. Zabini said proudly of his romantic exploits. Thanks, Blaze. I stepped forward and hugged the dark-skinned boy. Whether it was testing the waters or extending an olive branch, I appreciated his goodwill. I secretly retrieved the wine she slipped me. The cup had been stored in a sealed container, preserving even the liquid. I had it checked. It's a high-grade love potion. Maybe all the money she earned went into buying her tools for crime. All high-grade love potions movements can be traced through our network. Draco looked at Harry. Let's verify the potential channels for recent illegal circulation together. Harry's expression grew serious. Could it have leaked from the Godfather's side? I speculated boldly. Unlikely. Who would dare steal from Professor Snape's potion office? Perhaps some portion meant for the Order of the Phoenix might have leaked. Possible. Sabine's eyes lit up. You're really saying this in front of me? Since you've already offered your loyalty, what's the harm? I smiled knowingly. Since Aurora trusts you, these public secrets don't need hiding. Draco adjusted the curls spilling over my shoulders. Do they really look alike? He whispered near my ear. Maybe only we can notice the subtle differences, I reassured him softly. The Malfoy family's signature platinum wasn't an ordinary dye. It was a pale gold, almost silver, shimmering in sunlight. At night, under the moon, it glowed softly like fine silk. Perhaps it had something to do with the Malfoy family's trace of elven blood. I'd never thought much about it. Only when I discovered someone imitating me did I truly notice the allure of platinum hair. I thought it was just girls' petty squabbles, but the payoff turned out to be remarkable, Zabini said smugly. Then I wonder would Madame Zabini care to spend Christmas at Malfoy Manor? Draco extended the olive branch. Of course, it would be our honor. Zabini's eyes gleamed. I'll write to father. Draco left it at that. As expected, Snape had been channeling Malfoy family donations to Hogwarts into buying vast quantities of potion ingredients. A large share of those, it turned out, went into brewing for the Order of the Phoenix, stimulants, love potions, truth serums endless. Arthur and Molly, with access to these potions, had for some reason siphoned off a portion to the burrow. Naturally, Ginny noticed. Before running away, she had pocketed some for herself, and at a critical moment, they came into play. The Order's lack of oversight is appalling. I wondered what Tom would think if he knew that in another world, his counterpart had been defeated by such a band of bunglers. Even Slytherins, who pride themselves on being the elite, can be reckless at times. In the original tale, Lucius was the worst offender, delivering Voldemort's Horcrux diary to Hogwarts, losing a soul fragment, and handing Harry the chance to draw the sword of Gryffindor. Then, in his duel with Harry, he shattered the prophecy sphere in the Department of Mysteries. As Voldemort's former right hand, I couldn't help suspecting, was Lucius truly that incompetent, or was he Dumbledore's hidden agent all along? Once that thought took root, everything suddenly made sense. Perhaps that was why the Malfoys had been spared Azkaban in the original. What now? The idea left me reeling. Lucius seized the moment to demand stricter oversight of Hogwarts funding. Dumbledore could no longer freely divert Malfoy-endowed budgets into Snape's projects, and Snape was freed from the thankless task of brewing for the Order at his own risk. If Dumbledore wanted potions, he'd have to push his request through layers of approval at minimum. Lucius at Malfoy Manor would need to be informed. Would that make Dumbledore feel hamstrung in his schemes? That was no longer our concern. Every clash was another round in the game. Chapter 595. Dumbledore resigns. In the end, Ginny Weasley was arrested by the Ministry for potion abuse. She confessed her client list, which shockingly included several high-ranking officials. Lucky for us, she only used love potions for quick profit. If she'd schemed any further, I understood Harry and Draco's concern. Corporate spies and agents often used the same method to steal trade secrets. In the end, what she lacks is this. Draco tapped his temple. The Weasleys gave her food and a roof, but they never taught her anything, neither how to see the world nor how to think about it. I had to admit Draco was right. Ginny Weasley had lost the race from the very start. Lucius used this scandalous affair to purge many of his political rivals within the Ministry of Magic. At the same time, the reputation of the Order of the Phoenix suffered greatly. Groups that had once supported Dumbledore began to distance themselves. They scrutinized their own daily routines obsessively. Who could say whether the Order wasn't sending obscure operatives whose support was genuine? If in the original story the Malfoys were the ones consistently holding Voldemort back, then here, I'd gladly award the Weasleys a medal for unwittingly working as Malfoy informants. Why is it that everyone seems to make things harder for Dumbledore? One could only say the Order of the Phoenix was truly full of talent. First Montague Fletch, now the Weasleys. And the Weasley women were all prolific, while the unreliable members kept multiplying endlessly. Although singing backwards hid Ginny Weasley's name and cleverly edited her photo, no wall is completely airtight. Afterward, Hermione privately teased us about Ron, who as Gryffindor prefect, looked like a frostbitten eggplant, unable to hold his head high in front of anyone. Already lacking authority, he hit rock bottom thanks to Ginny's affair. Everyone knew he had a withdrawn, social butterfly sister. Redheads naturally struggle with emotional control, feel pain more acutely than others, and are highly sensitive. Ron had even lost his prefect title after a fight with a roommate over a quarrel. I imagine Dumbledore must have regretted choosing Ron. In the original story, Dumbledore made the same choice, Ron and Hermione earned prefect badges in 5th year, while Harry, always at the forefront, received none. Dumbledore's excuse was that Harry was already busy facing Voldemort. Little did anyone realize, what a young wizard most needs is Dumbledore's recognition. Aurora, I finally understand what you meant by the unworthy holding a position. The Weasleys exemplify it perfectly, Draco said, raising his glass to lightly clink mine. You still have to learn from Father. He never gave the Weasleys a second thought. In the original story, Lucius purposely provoked Arthur Weasley at Riven Bookstore to dispose of a notebook, leading to a brawl. Now, Lucius had already surpassed the Weasleys to an untouchable height. Conflict with them? Impossible. True masters never clash openly with swords flashing. Then one day, Dumbledore suddenly announced his resignation as headmaster of Hogwarts. This time, without pressure from the Ministry or Umbridge's educational decree. Why did Dumbledore still choose to leave Hogwarts? Professor McGonagall, recommended by Dumbledore, was appointed as acting headmistress through the Board of Governors. Since her student days, McGonagall had been loyal to Dumbledore and the Phoenix faction. Upright, just, and highly skilled in teaching, she was exactly the right choice. Rarely did Dumbledore misjudge someone. I secretly glanced at Snape at his classroom desk. His expression was inscrutable, betraying no emotion. When Dumbledore announced the news to the entire school, students struggled to accept it. At the same time, they accepted the prospect of Professor McGonagall becoming headmistress. Colleagues congratulated each other, engaging in mutual flattery. Slughorn patted Snape's shoulder, exchanging some unknown words. It seemed that in Hogwarts history, it was rare for a Slytherin head of house to rise to headmaster. In the original story, Snape did become headmaster at one point, but never gained the support of the other teachers. Only after the great battle did Harry finally clear his name and restore Severus Snape's reputation. He bore the weight of everyone's misunderstandings and carried it forward alone. Even the newly appointed Minister for Magic was reluctant to leave Snape's portrait in the headmaster's office. He was a true lone hero. However, given the current circumstances, Snape's chances of challenging McGonagall for the headmaster position were slim. He was neither Dumbledore's direct protégé, nor did he have sufficient seniority. After all, as the youngest potions master and head of Slytherin, his rise had already been meteoric. Dumbledore never revealed the real reason for his departure. Speculation ran rampant. Even Snape remained tight-lipped. But Lucius caught subtle hints here and there. At some point, Grindelwald had somehow crossed paths with Sirius, who was holed up at 12 Grimmauld Place. Previously, the two had almost no connection at all. It was said that Grindelwald had taken a particular interest in the next-generation heir of the Black family. He had even sought advice from the current Black patriarch on caring for infants. He personally handled tasks like changing diapers, refusing to delegate the work to others. Seeing his interest, Lucius recommended the house elf, who had primarily cared for me and Draco at the time. Grindelwald accepted with a smile, refusing nothing. Everything pointed to a single conclusion. Dumbledore had made a deal with death. He had obtained Ariana's soul. Using the resurrection stone, it was likely he had effectively recreated a version of his sister. Grindelwald naturally would not miss the chance to reconcile with Dumbledore. It was said that Dumbledore's home in Godric's Hollow gained two unexpected visitors. One was the former leader of the fanatical wizard faction who had once struck terror into the wizarding world. The other was Dumbledore's estranged brother. Watching Dumbledore handle the infant with ease, Grindelwald realized that neither he nor the house elf he brought along was of any use. "Albus, you look quite skilled." Dumbledore rolled up his sleeves. "Ariana and Aberforth, I raised them both." Aberforth, standing nearby, flushed bright red. He forced his attention onto washing the baby bottles. Chapter 597. The Fate of the Gaunt Ring. Aberforth struggled to suppress the urge to cast Avada Kedavra on Grindelwald and turned his back. The once great dark wizard seemed utterly oblivious to how unwelcome he was in this house. He smiled, thinking himself friendly, at the blonde, blue-eyed infant in Dumbledore's arms, only to make the little girl cry inconsolably. "Gellert," Dumbledore began, "you're not needed here." But Grindelwald produced a rattle and placed it in Ariana's tiny hand. Her vision not fully developed, she followed the moving rattle with her eyes and began to giggle. Dumbledore glanced at his silent brother and sighed. That Aberforth's fiery temper could coexist in the same room as Grindelwald spoke volumes. This time, he didn't strongly oppose the two of them, he simply took the baby from Dumbledore and left the room. The moment the door closed, Albus's expression was unreadably complex. What Dumbledore and Grindelwald said, when they were alone, remained known only to them, but afterward, Grindelwald never left. Not long after, Harry received a mysterious package. Inside was the invisibility cloak Dumbledore had returned. It still works. Harry draped the cloak over my shoulders. In the mirror, only my head floated above it, looking utterly ridiculous. Wow! Merlin, you scared me! Draco exclaimed as he pushed open the door and saw my head hovering in midair. He yanked the cloak off and tossed it onto Harry. Never thought we'd see it again. Dumbledore really let it go. Draco clicked his tongue in amazement. Who else but us would? Like a pair of picks, you never let go of a Horcrux once we have it. Of course, except for the notebook, every Horcrux is a priceless treasure. Though the notebook seems ordinary to Grandpa, it must be far more precious than the others, right? I tried desperately to signal Draco with my eyes, but he didn't catch my meaning at all. What's with you, Aurora? Are your eyes twitching? Honestly, I'd say it was under Grandpa's guidance that Tom developed his taste. Before his words were finished, a voice hissed through clenched teeth. Draco Malfoy. I was wrong. When it comes to Malfoys, style, groveling, and opportunism, we dare claim second place. No one would dare claim first. Tom eyed Harry's invisibility cloak with a mix of amusement and exasperation. A bit useless. Wizards can detect invisibility cloaks with magical instruments. Some highly skilled wizards can even see through them without tools. Albus Dumbledore, for instance. So when Tom called it useless, it was likely with Dumbledore in mind. Harry clearly misunderstood, replying calmly, "It's an heirloom from my forebears." The resurrection stone was a Gaunt family relic too, Draco muttered. The ring had passed down through the Gaunts, who carried Slytherin blood, until the family line ended. If Slytherin blood is the key to possessing it, then Tom, Narcissa, Draco, and I all seem eligible. The question remains, who will it ultimately belong to? Meanwhile, far away at Malfoy Manor, Narcissa also received a gift from Dumbledore. "Sissy, you mustn't wear this." The Gaunt ring was said to amplify the wearer's emotions, making them more extreme and drawing in more negative feelings. Though the ring had been successfully purified, Lucius still wouldn't risk it. "I understand." Narcissa handed the ring to Lucius. "Keep it safe for me." This too was Dumbledore's silent warning. Among those who knew Narcissa's true identity, Lucius was one of them. Each had leverage over the other, and neither side could act recklessly. The Order of the Phoenix, the chaotic ensemble from the original story, was gradually withdrawing from the stage of history, its political life ending under Dumbledore's successful concealment. In the original story, the Order had no proper base, and requisitioned number 12, Grimmauld Place. But now, the Black family's ancestral home carried the mission of raising a new generation of Blacks, and it was unthinkable to allow strangers to come and go at will. Sirius's only son, Alfred, was growing day by day. His doll-like features were becoming ever more refined. With Sirius's charm and Narcissa's beauty combined, it was hard to imagine the stir he would cause when he eventually set foot in Hogwarts. "Aurora, when will we?" Draco hinted. "It's still too early. Let's wait until after we finish our newt." After earning 12 OS in my OWLs, I felt I had finally cemented my place as Hogwarts' top scholar. Every path seemed to open before me. "Aurora, we won't take our newt until 7th year. That's still 2 years away." His face buried itself in the hollow of my shoulder. "You promised your father, remember? You're the one who said we'd wait." His fine platinum hair was smooth to the touch, and his heavy breaths fanned against my collarbone, sending shivers through me. I was tired of his constant teasing, of being left restless with no relief. Those innocent gray eyes always looked at me with such pleading, so pitiful, so unlike the proud boy he was, while beneath, I could sense the fierce hunger he forced himself to restrain. We found other ways to ease the tension, but it was never enough. "Does it hurt to hold back?" I asked the question that had been gnawing at me. In countless novels from the East, there were endless opinions on this very matter. Untouched as I was, I couldn't help my curiosity. "You," his gaze darkened. "If I said yes, would you help me?" His breath brushed my ear. "That depends on how steep the price is." And if the price was shared pleasure? My clothes slipped away piece by piece, and with them, my focus on study. Aurora, he whispered, Tom told me a method. What? I could hardly register a word through the haze. A way to strengthen memory. For example, what's the recipe for Felix Felicis? Draco quizzed suddenly. Ugh, it's so long, how could I possibly memorize it? The preparation of Felix Felicis alone took half a year, not to mention its sprawling recipe. Even Snape's pared-down version was mind-bendingly complex. Oh, can't answer? His smirk curved, wicked and proud. Then the cost will be rather high. Chapter 599. Potions, Study. Draco's unorthodox teaching methods ended up drilling the entire Felix Felicis recipe into my head. Anything that might appear on the new syllabus, he made me review it this way. Sometimes once wasn't enough. He'd press me further, insisting it was for solidifying knowledge through repetition. In potions class, Draco and Slughorn volleyed back and forth as if in perfect sync, and Slytherin earned another 10 points. The platinum-haired boy's face shone with smug delight. Why the surprised look? While helping you, I also reinforced your memory. How could that be called helping? I grit my teeth. That's clearly messing with me. Oh, then why is it that every time it's over, your expression looks so satisfied? You. I pinched him hard. He let out a muffled grunt but didn't seem the least bit bothered, his mood utterly unshaken. Aurora, don't you think this is more efficient? Afterward, Draco gently smoothed the wrinkled pages of his book. Father would definitely be proud of us. I was about to agree when he continued. Books in bed and out of bed, never apart. I was completely exasperated. He teased me, then coaxed me again with every possible charm. I swore I would never fall for him, and yet, I always did at the crucial moment. Damn this obsession with appearances. Fuming, I stole a glance at Draco's profile. A high, elegant nose, perfectly shaped lips, thick platinum lashes casting shadows. Nearby, a feather quill scribbled diligently as if paying full attention, while his fingers, hidden beneath the robe, grazed my palm ever so lightly. It's still class. I felt my face burning and buried my head in my book. Stop looking, there's no golden house in this book. His eyes were on the text, but the words were infuriating. Stop it, the practical section is about to start. Reluctantly, he let go of my hand. Harry had already begun processing the potion ingredients, so I quickly stepped in. No worries, I'll handle it. You haven't put on your protective gloves yet. Ever since Draco and I awakened as elves, our innate elven magic would unconsciously seep into the potion ingredients, activating them similar to Neville Longbottom's skill. As a result, once the ingredients passed through our hands, their original properties shifted, making the book's prescribed ratios unreliable. We didn't want to reveal our identities, so some people speculated that our actions were merely the obsessive-compulsive tendencies of pure-blood families. Neville wanted to argue with the rumors, but we held him back. People only believe what they think is true, I said. Neville paused, reflecting on the recent events, and then focused entirely on following the proper steps to make the potion. Slughorn's classes were far livelier and more enjoyable than Snape's, and he was much more approachable. Over the year, Neville's potion grades hadn't skyrocketed, but they were no longer at the bottom. Seeing that Draco and I had put on our gloves, Harry handed me a portion of his work. Aurora, can I join you? Aren't we already the three of us together? I mean for potion making. Harry's green eyes blazed with meaning. We're supposed to be in the same study group, aren't we? And yet you two are pairing up separately. Is this abandoning your teammate? Harry's eyes were filled with disappointment. It's not like that. This was one kind of study, another entirely. Still won't admit it? Clearly you're getting special treatment with Draco. His hand moved to the base of my neck, gently pulling aside the high collar of my undershirt to expose the reddened skin. Draco was too busy enjoying himself and forgot to put this on you? Harry busied himself with the ointment. No wonder I couldn't find that tube this morning, someone had hidden it. Impressive, learning how to scheme against us, Draco said, snatching the ointment. He dabbed a bit and carefully applied it to the red mark on my neck. In class, I reminded him, cheeks flushed. What? Just say it's a mosquito bite. I'm only helping you put on the ointment, Draco said, not pausing in his movements. Deluding yourself, I murmured softly. No one was surprised by our closeness anymore. After class, Slughorn asked the three of us to stay behind. Aurora, Draco, your interactions during class. He paused for a moment. Oh no, we must have gone too far today to get singled out like this. My face burned with embarrassment. I'm sorry, Professor. I hurriedly lowered my head in apology. You remind me of the joys of teaching. Your parents, Lucius and Narcissa, joined my slug club when they were your age. I nearly jumped. It turned out we had been invited to Slughorn's club. In the original story, Slughorn invited Harry, Hermione, Ron, and Ginny, but excluded Draco. Because he didn't trust Slytherins with Death Eater backgrounds. He was a shrewd opportunist, always creating social circles and alliances among students to exchange for future benefits. He provided students a networking platform while reaping the rewards himself. He almost never misjudged a student. The only exception was teaching Tom Riddle how to make Horcruxes, something he regretted for decades. In his mind, he believed he had inadvertently led Tom astray. Thus, Slughorn created a false memory in his mind. Originally, Draco had tried to use his grandfather, Abraxas, to gain favor with Slughorn but was coldly rejected. He even attempted to crash the event without an invitation. I couldn't imagine how disappointed the proud Draco must have felt at being excluded. This time, Draco politely accepted the invitation with us. Aurora, what's wrong? You don't look happy, Draco said, noticing my mood. Nothing, I shook my head. I just think Professor Slughorn is far more mercenary than the Godfather. Draco chuckled. Of course, but Dad told me we can use his connections. Likewise, Professor Slughorn expects something from us in return, Draco added with a sly grin. Indeed, mutually beneficial relationships last longer. In the original story, Slughorn refused to associate with Voldemort's followers, so naturally he was cold toward the Malfoys. Chapter 6. 101. Practical Benefits. If you don't want to go, I'll tell Dad. Anyway, the Malfoy family is at the height of its influence right now. There are plenty of others eager to offer olive branches. Now he's hosting the event, and us attending is just giving him face. Draco soothed me. I wrapped my arms around his waist, pressing against his chest. It's nothing, really, he's just a typical Slytherin. I'm only a little reflective, I admitted. Draco understood immediately. The things you worry about won't happen. Since Professor Slughorn is so skilled at reading people and judging situations, the Malfoy family's revival is imminent. After all, this slippery character has now staked everything on us. A sharp glint appeared in Draco's eyes. My mood brightened along with his. Aurora, you've always comforted me. From now on, it will be my turn to comfort you. He kissed the center of my forehead. We comfort each other, I added silently in my heart. Good, he responded tenderly. Does Professor Slughorn also know about what my cousin and her husband do behind the scenes? Harry asked, sounding a little envious. Comparing us to them. That's normal. Our signature hair color is far too unique, I said, taking Harry's hand. In the future, our children might also be teased and made examples of, I added. Harry clearly understood the promise behind my words. Aurora, yesterday, who used being young as an excuse to forbid this or that. Truly, dangers lurk everywhere, wolves ahead, tigers behind. My focus can't be split. But, Harry shifted the topic, I can understand why Slughorn invited you, but what can I do to help him? How could you not? The Potter heir with billions of galleons, and a school celebrity, I said, and each word only made the smile in Harry's eyes wider. Aurora, you've been deceived. He knows exactly his own worth. He just wants you to praise him. Draco immediately exposed him. What's this? Only officials can light fires, while commoners are forbidden to light lamps. Because of me, they constantly eavesdrop on my thoughts, acting like little worms in my belly, fully versed in Chinese idioms. The downside of being so connected mentally soon became apparent. There were no secrets left between us. My joys and sorrows could no longer be hidden from them, and theirs were equally transparent to me. Slughorn reciprocated our efforts. Aside from inviting us to the slime club this time, he also left all external communications in our hands. Over 100 names and addresses. Luckily, magic helps. Otherwise, we'd still be sending invitations forever, I muttered, waving my wand as envelopes magically fastened to each owl's leg. Nearly all the Hogwarts owls have been requisitioned, Draco said, carefully studying the parchment. Meanwhile, we received numerous civil inquiries, all trying to learn the location and time of this gathering. Most importantly, Lucius would attend. With the collapse of the Order of the Phoenix and Dumbledore gradually retreating from the stage of history, the Malfoy family's status was rising. Knowing that Lucius was attending in gratitude, everyone wanted to seize the opportunity to raise their own visibility and see what advantages they might gain. Those who had remained neutral, merely observing, were also preparing to use this occasion to seek cooperation. They say the Crabbe and Goyle families practically live at Malfoy Manor now. Draco glanced over at Vincent and Gregory in the distance, unable to resist a jab. I've only just realized, they're not stupid at all. His smile faded. That dull appearance of theirs, it's a weapon. If others underestimate them, they can dig out far more secrets. The old strategy, conceal your edge, hide wisdom behind foolishness. Only, Draco still seemed to give them too much credit. In the original tale, as the Malfoys standing with Voldemort declined, Vincent Crabbe's attitude toward Draco shifted drastically. Even before the final outcome was decided, he began showing open disdain and disrespect, ignoring all the shelter Draco had given him back when the Malfoys shone brightest. The books barely lingered on Draco's interactions with Crabbe beyond that, but the root of the fracture was clear. Their friendship had never been equal, and once the Malfoys lost their pedestal, resentment that had long been suppressed burst forth with frightening force. I had every reason to believe that, should the tables turn, Crabbe and Goyle would lash out at the Malfoy family with brutal vengeance. Seeing my cool expression, Draco rubbed his nose. You know, I've never liked hanging out with them anyway. Always kept my distance. They had been handpicked by Lucius as Draco's shadows. That was the difference between generations. For Lucius, born in 1950, the rigid hierarchy of pure blood society meant everything. He kept the Crabbe and Goyle families under his thumb for years, using them to shore up his own influence. Someone always had to play the laborer, the one with mud on his boots. Draco's true peers in Slytherin, the ones he counted as equals, were Blaise Zabini, Theodore Nott, and Harry, and of those, Harry was the closest by far. Sometimes, Draco murmured, almost to himself, I feel like none of this is worth it. Me too, X2. I widened my eyes at Harry. I had always thought of him as someone completely immersed in the world, destined like Tom to carve out great achievements. In The Cursed Child, he became head of magical law enforcement, upholding justice and fairness in the wizarding world. I had assumed his convictions ran deep, unshakable. Surely he wasn't like Draco and me, nursing dreams of stepping away from it all. Maybe it's just that I've seen the truth behind the surface, Harry said with a quiet smile. Justice and evil are written by those who hold the pen. Like the Qin and Sui dynasties in China, brief reigns judged by the Han and Tang dynasties that lasted far longer. Generation after generation of historians twisted the record to please their rulers, smearing the emperors of Qin and Suis. First emperor of Qin, remembered as the unifier of China, has been cursed for millennia over burning books and burying scholars. Emperor Yang of Suis, who built the Grand Canal still in use today, was painted as a lecherous tyrant even though he had far fewer concubines than the Tang emperor who toppled him. A chorus of voices can blacken gold. Chapter 603. The most dangerous place is also the safest. In the original story, the ending hinted that the wizarding world would enter a new era under the leadership of the Order of the Phoenix. Meanwhile, the Malfoy family, though escaping punishment, saw their reputation and status plummet in the years that followed. Beneath the surface, factional conflicts reflected a deeper division in wizarding consciousness. The rigid class system fueled resistance from Muggle-borns and half-bloods, represented by the Phoenix, against unequal resource distribution. But what if the Malfoys could lead everyone to expand the pie instead? Lucius seized this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, ready to make his mark in this era of change. Can Tom really keep up with all these roadshows? On TV, Tom's youthful, radiant face delivered passionate speeches, yet, in reality, he was approaching 70. I understood Draco's concern. Abraxas, sitting in the audience, tried to stay alert, clutching an energy potion. Even his meticulously groomed hair showed faint signs of fatigue. Not even Grandpa can keep up. On one hand, Tom was Voldemort's 16-year-old soul, so his appearance remained frozen at that age. On the other hand, as a natural leader, he possessed all the qualities of a competent figure, energy, unlimited, included. Abraxas had privately complained that Tom was like a perpetual motion machine, never stopping day or night. Unfortunately, one must swallow the choices one has made, no matter how difficult. I remembered Narcissa teasing her father in the same way. You really learned mischief from Lucius. Abraxas affectionately pinched his daughter's cheek. Even though she's my daughter, she's cut from the same mold as Tom. Apart from hair and eye color, Narcissa was almost identical to Tom. So it's not exactly elbowing outward, right? Narcissa quickly pleaded. Never mind, you're no better always sleeping until the afternoon, Abraxas countered. That's because there's another one in my belly. This time, Narcissa's cheeks flushed. The real reason was known only to us. She was constantly at the mercy of Lucius, forced out of bed or kept from it. In the push and pull of successive waves, nothing ever goes entirely smoothly. As Lucius gradually shifted his focus to helping Tom campaign for Minister for Magic, he naturally relaxed his control over the current minister, Cornelius Fudge. Do you think Fudge might expose your control over him? I asked, worried. After all, Lucius had once avoided trial by claiming that his service to Voldemort as a Death Eater had been under the Imperious curse. Doing that would be mutually disastrous, Lucius said confidently. He'd lose even the basic semblance of dignity. Besides, Umbridge, who originally supported him, has long since vanished. Anyone with real influence knows when to act. Lucius waved a hand over a list. It was filled with prominent figures in the wizarding world who had pledged allegiance to the Malfoy family. The tide of history favors us, Aurora. Lucius kissed the hair at the front of Narcissa's head. His pregnant wife had not missed a single roadshow event. Narcissa's aura shone brilliantly. She wore alchemical protections capable of resisting Avada Kedavra, and Lucius had allocated half of his magical power to ensure her safety. Mom, why don't you just stay home and wait for the results? I asked. The most dangerous place is often the safest place, Narcissa said, winking at me. Chapter 6, 104. Come, Narcissa. I can't imagine sitting alone in front of the television. If your father were in danger, I wouldn't be there, Narcissa said, gripping her wand tightly. Minute results are quite good, you don't need to worry about me. How can it be the same? Even if it's a low probability event, if it happens, it becomes inevitable. Narcissa pulled me into her arms. Your father has long taken on the pain himself, she whispered in my ear. What do you mean? When carrying Draco, her cheeks glowed like the dawn. He bore all the suffering for me. I believe that when you are pregnant, Draco can do the same. It's a secret of the house elves. Good heavens, they had been planning for my pregnancy when I was barely a child. She seemed to notice my embarrassment. Draco seems to have been planning for this day for a long time. She tenderly stroked my face. I want you to be happy as I am, my dearest daughter. My nose prickled with emotion. I will, Mom. Was Tom's speech really that stirring enough to bring tears to both of you? Lucius said, half irritated. He held Narcissa, shielding her belly, and cautioned carefully, you mustn't get too emotional, understand? Sorry, Dad. I took the handkerchief he offered. Luke, what are you doing? Aurora and I are having a private conversation, Narcissa said helplessly. Lucius suddenly turned serious. Just received a secret report. We've located Umbridge. A chill ran through me. I hadn't expected her to still be alive. Her appearance was a serious threat to us. If Fudge had an ally. Aurora, don't be afraid, Narcissa patted the back of my hand. I guided Umbridge to search for the Slytherin locket myself. I confessed my previous plan in full. Narcissa showed no surprise. You did well. That gave us the upper hand. Aurora, you are a true asset to the Malfoy family. But I still left a trace behind. I couldn't hide my guilt. Don't blame yourself. That's normal. And though Umbridge has returned, she is not herself. Lucius frowned. No one knows exactly what caused it. In the original story, Umbridge's crimes were numerous. Though not a Death Eater, she indirectly helped Voldemort suppress the Order of the Phoenix and persecuted Muggle-borns and half-bloods. Now, she hadn't made such a grave mistake yet, and to strip her of the hope of living seemed. Let's place her in St. Mungo's for now. After all, Umbridge was a senior official in the Ministry of Magic. If they kept her at Malfoy Manor, any slip could be exploited by political rivals, potentially tarnishing the Malfoy family's reputation. Especially now, during this critical election period, even the smallest disturbance could have fatal consequences. "Does Connolly Fudge know about this?" I asked. Lucius nodded. "It's impossible to keep it completely secret, but we've taken some precautions. I'm confident Connolly won't be able to uncover anything. Every visit has our people present. Umbridge as an unstable factor should be removed sooner rather than later." It was the first time I heard Narcissa speak so bluntly. She was calm, composed, truly cold. "Surprised? Your mother is a real Slytherin," Lucius said proudly. "She's my backbone." In the original events, Narcissa was the first to change her attitude toward Luna and the others, welcoming them to Malfoy Manor for interviews. She was also the one who decisively made a bold, taboo-breaking choice, deceiving Voldemort and hiding the fact that Harry was still alive. "Aurora, sometimes we have to make difficult decisions, even if they go against our original intentions," Narcissa guided gently. She was teaching me the art of becoming a true Malfoy matriarch. "Never put your needs behind others. This isn't selfishness. Only by becoming the best version of yourself can you help more people," she said, looking at Tom on stage with admiration. "Mom, Dad, do you really believe Tom will lead the Malfoy family to greatness?" I finally voiced the question that had been buried in my heart. Lucius paused, then smiled warmly. "At least he won't fare worse than the Order of the Phoenix ever did. And to secure that position, he'll need support, financial and social. Naturally, he must form a strong alliance with us," Narcissa added. Tom was, in a way, another father figure to Narcissa, yet she could set aside familial sentiment and speak with such official authority. Narcissa, beyond her role as a dutiful spouse, possessed the mind of a politician, carefully weighing costs, analyzing benefits. Aurora, no one is victorious all the time. There are peaks and valleys. The Malfoy family endured a period of dormancy after Voldemort's disappearance, but another era of glory is coming. As Tom's speech neared its conclusion, the room erupted in thunderous applause. Narcissa guided me while cheering for him along with the crowd. Abracax, as Tom's partner, was also asked to speak. He set aside his prepared speech. Though Britain had a reputation for decay, few public figures were openly out. Most concealed their orientation to preserve a perfect family image. People's prejudices against minorities and even Lucius's very existence became focal points for political attacks. After all, Lucius was the product of a union between Abracax and Gellert Grindelwald's family line. Critics argued that Abracax, fully aware of his orientation, still chose to marry a woman and have children. "I do not wish to defend myself," Abracax's voice was amplified, carrying to every corner. "I, Abracax Malfoy, was born with a golden spoon in my mouth. From the moment I arrived in this world, I possessed things most people could only dream of in a lifetime." Though it sounded boastful, his words were entirely truthful. The audience smiled at his honesty. "To be honest, I wasn't serious about Tom at first." Tom's eyes went wide. Then he laughed along, the sound captured on camera like ice thawing in early spring. He shook his head helplessly, gazing fondly at the benefactor on stage whose fate was entwined with his own. "It's just, he's too beautiful. Impossible to forget. He really says everything." I couldn't help but pinch my forehead, until those perfect features revealed fangs and claws. The audience erupted into murmurs. Lucius and Narcissa sat hand in hand, their faces calm and serene, though the veins on Lucius's hands betrayed the storm inside. "Grandfather is too bold. Not even a heads up," Draco fretted beside them. Lucius stopped him before he could protest further. Harry, reading the room, chose silence as well. "I never imagined marrying Tom," Abraxas continued. The chatter below grew louder, but he only smiled and let it be. I carefully watched Tom's expression. He was the one truly composed. A faint smile lingered on his lips as he gazed at his partner on stage with deep affection, utterly unbothered by the declarations being made. Dozens of cameras were trained on him. He was a natural star. Until I realized what he was planning, the lifelong dream he poured himself into. Good heavens, that pause for breath. Just when I thought all the prior setup was leading to a twist, Abraxas dropped another bombshell. I didn't believe he would succeed. Every year, there are gifted young people who ultimately fall into the mud, descend into the abyss. I thought, if I extended help now, I could earn his trust at the lowest cost. So Malfoy, so Abraxas, the secrets he could never share with outsiders, he casually laid bare for all to hear. I thought we would part ways at graduation. Our backgrounds were worlds apart. He couldn't even afford new textbooks, had to wear second-hand robes. He worked tirelessly to rise above, from an orphan in the Muggle world to Hogwarts student council president, earning recognition from nearly the entire school. But he spared no effort in displaying his talents to me, Abraxas said with a faint smile. Even in Quidditch, where he wasn't as skilled. Tom's expression betrayed a flicker of embarrassment. Later, he even invented magic flying without any external aid. I could sense his deliberate attempts to please me. There are plenty who do so every day, but then one day he asked me to meet him. Chapter 607. Flocking like moths. 2 bottles of butterbeer down, and then he started going on and on trying to persuade me. I even made sure to place him at Malfoy Manor for safety, but it turns out his whole pitch was to get me to invest in him. Tom covered his mouth, unwilling to face it, waving his hand to fend off the prying media who were all too eager to pounce. The Malfoy family never lacks galleons, Abraxas beamed with pride. With my backing, he no longer needs to scavenge in Nocturne Alley or work as a teaching assistant for the professors. Then one day, he suddenly told me he wanted to see his father. A child abandoned in a Muggle orphanage suddenly has a father. The smile vanished from Tom's face. Everyone knew that Tom's namesake father was his Achilles heel. And Abraxas, shockingly, mentioned him in public. I wanted to go with him, but he outright refused. Abraxas's face paled as he continued, I deeply regret not insisting. I thought it would be a simple family reunion, but it turned out. Turns out, being a parent doesn't require any testing. For some, blood ties can be so easily severed. Tom's eyes reddened slightly, his wine-colored gaze shimmered with unshed tears. Outwardly, Tom always appeared confident, strong. He never spoke of his tragic past. Yet, the vulnerability of a strong person is what touches hearts most. This always humble, upward-looking young man collapsed in a pool of blood. I thought he had blocked out the negativity long ago, but that blow was fatal for him. Abraxas referred to the time Tom met the elder Tom Riddle and decided to sever his Muggle bloodline. The elder Tom's heart overflowed with loathing when Tom arrived. Despite their identical appearances, anyone who saw them could recognize their blood relation. To the elder Tom, he was a high-born young master. How could he possibly have been involved with the plain, eccentric Merope and father a child with her? Tom's longing for familial connection resulted in a lifetime of closing himself off. It wasn't until he was on the brink of death that I realized this little guy was leaving me. I once thought he was expendable, only when he nearly died did I realize his importance. Even being called expendable, Tom still smiled faintly. The Malfoy family is committed to providing a good life for every orphan who has lost both parents. Today they shine in their respective roles. Tom was still lost in memories with Abraxas when Abraxas abruptly shifted the topic. So all that build-up was just to promote the Malfoy family's philanthropy? Draco couldn't help but chuckle. Yet, the response was surprisingly positive. The public, used to grandiose speeches, found sudden blunt honesty far more relatable. By going against expectations, your grandfather plays the game openly and straightforwardly, Lucius said appreciatively. Abraxas had always appeared as a spoiled playboy in the public eye. So when Tom was portrayed as the pampered pretty boy, people felt greater sympathy for him, bending over backward for a living. Abraxas pulled Tom down from the pedestal, bringing him closer to the people. The one they supported was an ordinary person, humble, born, and often rebuffed in matters of family. Then Tom took the baton from Abraxas. Thank you, Abraxas. He hugged his partner tightly. He saved me when I wanted nothing more than to die. I've always claimed publicly that I wanted to sever my father's bloodline. Truth is, I had already resigned myself to death. I realized my birth wasn't truly the choice of my parents. Even my mother didn't properly name me, she simply reused my father's. Finally, he revealed the truth. I am the product of a love potion. I was so jealous of you, Abraxas. I felt like a venomous snake, lurking around you. Every tiny advantage that slipped through your fingers attracted countless others, flocking to it like moths to a flame. Good heavens, what was supposed to be a public roadshow had turned into a mutual trial by fire. The audience seems to love it. Narcissa nodded toward the energetic reporters nearby. Countless flashes and shutters went off in rapid succession. Everyone perked up their ears, hanging on every word as Tom and the former head of the Malfoy family shared their personal journeys. These two really know how to grab the media's attention. Lucius chuckled. Indeed, age brings wisdom. When I put on the sorting hat, waiting to be placed in a house, the first thing I noticed was a platinum-haired boy in a Slytherin uniform. He was the center of everyone's attention. I told myself that one day, I would become someone like him. That very night, after some discreet inquiries, I learned he came from the deeply established Malfoy family, and I, an orphan without a penny to my name, had to work through holidays just to afford books and clothes. The difference between the clouds and the mud made me realize we were from different worlds. I shouldn't have indulged in the wishful thought of standing by your side. You will have a wife of equal standing inheriting the glory of the Malfoy family. Abraxas furrowed his brows, eyes fixed on Tom on stage. The two men shared a distant, silent gaze. Until you risked your life, using forbidden magic to save me, but by then I had stripped my love for you from my body. Tom was referring to separating out the notebook Horcrux. He had suffered a double blow. Abraxas was about to be engaged to Miss Grindelwald, and his father had rejected his search for family. I drifted like a leaf, my existence meaningless. It was you who helped me rediscover my value. In front of everyone, he confessed his deep feelings to Abraxas. Nearby, a few sentimental fangirls sobbed quietly at the scene. Does anyone actually believe this? Dad and Tom's relationship has always been tainted with so many interests. Lucius shook his head. No matter what, there has to be real emotion there. Narcissa disagreed. Perhaps. Lucius raised an eyebrow, giving no answer. Dad, don't think only you and Mom know true love, Draco retorted. He whistled at the pair embracing on stage. Clearly, their performance was a complete success. Lucius, unfazed by public opinion, stretched out the words. Ignore him, Narcissa smiled faintly. The next day, every major media outlet chose to run the passionate embrace of Abraxas and Tom on their front pages. Doesn't anyone care about Tom's political platform? I flipped through the papers but found nothing on that. People only care about superficial things, like Tom's handsome face, or random gossip, Lucius said. He had long abandoned checking the Daily Prophet in the morning and now went online. Those truly shaping policy are the ones directly involved, he added. Large corporations and capitalists, he explained, stir public opinion behind the scenes to guide the winds of perception. I couldn't tell whether Tom or Abraxas were affected by this rojo. From that point on, the two of them seemed inseparable. Jo never left Meng, and Meng never left Jo. Until an unexpected situation arose on stage. Chapter 609 Shoulders of Giants. Tom was ambushed during his speech. Draco pointed at the notification on his phone. What? My heart leapt into my throat. Luckily, a stroke of fortune in misfortune, no casualties, Draco said, scrolling through the updates. Who carried out the attack? Umbridge. Harry leaned close to Draco and pronounced each word carefully. Wasn't she supposed to be under strict supervision at St. Mungo's? I furrowed my brow. No idea how she managed to slip out. The head of St. Mungo's has been dismissed because of it. I smelled a faint trace of a conspiracy. St. Mungo's head was Dumbledore's ally. While St. Mungo's accepted investment from the Malfoy family, the real authority wasn't in their hands. This had always been a sore point for Lucius. Umbridge managing to break through, appear at the public event, and avoid detection by the Aurors present, it was nothing short of miraculous. Aurora. You thought of the same thing. Harry's eyes held approval. Without a word, we reached the same conclusion. Indeed, two birds with one stone. Umbridge was very likely under the influence of the soul's dealing curse. Lucius had deliberately lowered his guard, guiding her to appear at the event. We have reason to suspect that the current Minister of Magic, cornered and desperate, sent his own agents to ambush a strong competitor. Due to excessive defensive measures, or Alastor Moody killed a mess. Umbridge. I exchanged a knowing look with Draco and Harry. It was a masterstroke. Only the dead cannot defend themselves. Everyone knew Umbridge had been Fudge's loyal watchdog. Every move she made reflected the current Minister of Magic. Connolly Fudge and Alastor Moody are under investigation. Draco's lips curled into a faint smile. Moody had a life-debt bond with Dumbledore. After this incident, returning to the Auror ranks would be nearly impossible for him. As for Connolly Fudge, there was no way to wash this off. Tom's approval ratings have skyrocketed, almost overwhelming. There's no doubt Dad had a hand in this, Draco exclaimed, elated. The ultimate beneficiary of all this pointed clearly to the Malfoy family. Perhaps Narcissa had played a part as well. Politics was a war without gunfire, though violent events inevitably accompanied it. I particularly noticed that in the photos from the attack, Narcissa was nowhere in sight. Lucius had protected her well, but even so danger lurked everywhere. Achieving the goal required zero mistakes. Every step had to go exactly as planned. Every prediction had to be precise. When will I be as capable as Dad? Draco murmured. He lay sprawled on the bed, one arm covering his eyes. The earlier excitement had faded, replaced by pressure and responsibility. The heirs of pureblood families had to bear this burden. Standing on the shoulders of giants was no easy task. Outsiders saw only the shade beneath the tree, never the effort it took to grow it. One misstep and the consequences would be magnified infinitely. We're already making great progress by seeing through their layout, I whispered, trying to comfort him. You really are easily satisfied, Draco sighed softly. Chapter 610. What are you really thinking? Aurora, we're about to graduate from Hogwarts, Draco hinted. Really? Are the Newt ready? I feigned ignorance on purpose. We'll be adults soon, able to inherit the Malfoy family. Draco pulled me close, guiding me gently. Seeing me silent, he got straight to the point. Aurora, what do you really think about us? What choice do I have? I mean, I can't exactly go tell my parents about this. Who goes rushing to ask for marriage? Perhaps because of traditional values, girls often remain passive, letting the boy pursue. Sorry, I thought you still needed time to decide. We can go talk to our parents now. Draco, you know I've been preparing for this day all along. I swallowed my shyness and spoke my heart. It's just that outsiders have always treated us like siblings from the same mother, I admitted, voicing my worry. Aurora, becoming Mrs. Potter is also a choice. Harry took my hand. He slid an ancient ring onto my ring finger. Perfect fit. What are you doing? Draco grabbed Harry by the collar and hoisted him up effortlessly. Draco, let go of Harry. Ever since we mutually marked each other, the two of them rarely clashed directly. What was going on today? It was like lighting a fuse, one spark and boom. Aurora is undeniably going to be Mrs. Malfoy. You promised me you wouldn't fight me for her. Draco's face darkened, as if the very air had thinned around him. I also said I would respect Aurora's choice, Harry insisted, his face flushed red but unwavering. That's enough, both of you, I shouted. Go talk to our parents first. Narcissa had long hinted that a day like this would come. She worried that the years of brotherly bond between Draco and Harry might be destroyed by a fight over sovereignty. Chapter 611. Vows. Aurora, I know a title may not matter much to you, but have you considered things from Draco and Harry's perspective? Narcissa said earnestly. Draco, as the firstborn heir, cannot leave the position of Mrs. Malfoy vacant indefinitely. She studied my expression closely. And as his mother, naturally, I hope you two will end up together, Narcissa spoke frankly. On the other hand, your predicament resembles ours back in the day. She fell into thought. To most people, Luke and I are simply siblings from the same mother. It took a long time for those around me to accept my foster status. If you marry Draco, you must endure the harsh judgment of public opinion. Are you ready for that, Aurora? Narcissa's concern was evident. Before I could reply, she continued, marrying Harry would be much easier. The Potters and Malfoys are both pure blood families of comparable standing, whether historically or in terms of wealth. Not to mention you and Harry grew up as childhood friends, your previous lives are connected as well, and he has given much for you. He calls me cousin, and I've watched him grow up. Narcissa looked troubled. So, Aurora, what are your thoughts? Mum, no matter whom I choose, the other will be hurt. The thought of a wedding, Draco or Harry watching me link arms with Lucius, my hand given to another man, made my heart ache uncontrollably. Because our feelings are so mutual, I can completely sense how much each of them hopes for me. To bear the Malfoy or Potter name changes nothing for my future life. But for Draco and Harry, it would be a conclusion to our relationship. Whichever I choose, the other will become the one forced into the shadows. It is for this reason that I have been unable to decide. Aurora, why have you been sitting here staring into space? Draco waved his arm playfully in front of me. I realized Narcissa had long since disappeared. Mom said you were a little anxious. Draco held me close. She calls it pre-wedding jitters, he frowned. She told me to stay by your side, so you can gradually adjust. Huh? Don't worry, I won't offend you, Draco assured me. You've already offended me plenty, I stammered. I cannot resist the pull of his temptation under that gentle gaze. Oh, how exactly have I offended you? Draco's lips curved into a teasing smile. I was utterly defeated. With that ascetic face, he speaks words that stir the imagination. Platinum hair, gray eyes, and angelic face. In contrast, his tall frame, broad shoulders, narrow waist, and sleek musculature exude an irresistible allure. Every night, beneath his robe, glimpses of eight-pack abs constantly tempt me. I force my gaze elsewhere. Aurora, aside from your eyes, your attention is glued to me. Don't deny it, I can feel it. Draco's usually clear voice carried a low, magnetic tone. You are constantly tempting me, pulling me into an abyss. I cupped his face, staring into his eyes. His gaze surged like a storm, threatening to drown me completely. Not here, I buried my head against his chest. His chest was hard as iron. The collar of his shirt was undone, revealing pale skin tinged with a faint pink that rose and fell with each breath. Where can we try it on? He asked softly, his warm breath brushing against my ear. Elf ears are incredibly sensitive. I bit my lip, holding back a soft moan that threatened to escape. After all these years together, he knew me inside and out. Back in the bedroom, is that okay? I want to try your wedding dress on, Draco asked. Huh? I had the chief designer from Dufan Bridal design it. There are several versions to choose from. Several versions at once? What if I don't pick one? Too extravagant. Not for the wedding itself. You can just show me at other times. The intention was obvious. He had planned everything down to the last detail. He imagined me wearing the wedding dress while. You haven't even proposed yet. I pressed my hand against his chest to stop him from coming closer. I really should have followed Harry's example and put the ring on first, Draco murmured as he dropped to one knee. Aurora, will you marry me? Chapter 612, Holding Tight. He took my hand and apparated us directly to the center of the Malfoy Manor garden. The space had been meticulously arranged. White roses that usually bloomed there had been magically transformed into fiery red. A sweet, intoxicating fragrance surrounded us. Soft, soothing violin music drifted through the air, and I noticed how meticulously groomed he looked, even more striking than usual. Though his expression was confident and bold, a flicker of nervousness lingered in his eyes. He instinctively clutched the crisp lines of his suit pants, waiting for my answer. I'm not ready, I murmured, feeling foolish. Just moments ago, I had been snuggled in his arms, tousled hair and all, acting completely spoiled. And now I was facing the most important moment of my life. Not ready? Becoming Mrs. Malfoy has always been your destiny. You're more than ready. Everything is prepared. Only the final step remains. He slid the ring, symbolizing the Malfoy heir, onto my finger. I widened my eyes in surprise. Mom gave me this. She said it would give me a better chance. Draco's lips curved in a small smile. You're taking off the Potter family heir ring, came a voice from behind. Harry had appeared silently. I thought you had gone out, Draco glared at him. You sent me away so you could make your move first, didn't you? Harry raised an eyebrow. Aurora marrying me is the ideal choice. In everyone's eyes, your sibling relationship is already deeply fixed. The Malfoy family is at its peak now, and Tom just secured his position. You wouldn't want unnecessary turbulence because of the two of you. Draco cut him off without courtesy. The Malfoys can protect their future wife. Sacrificing personal happiness for profit is not something we would do. He stood, adjusting the Malfoy heir ring to fit perfectly on my finger. Aurora, back then, Bellatrix Lestrange was Dad's intended match, but he chose Mom without hesitation, and I'll do the same. Draco. No matter how many people told me that the Draco in Harry Potter was a spoiled second-generation brat, and that the Malfoys were spineless cowards, I always had my own judgment. They simply made the choices that suited them best. Perhaps, even before I came to this world, I had already been deeply attached to him. You've known my answer all along, haven't you? My voice trembled with emotion. I just wanted to hear you say it out loud. Draco cupped the back of my neck, his fingers threading into my hair. I do. Draco shot a quick glance at Harry. Thank Merlin, I've never been happier than I am now. Aurora. Harry couldn't hide his disappointment. I took his hand. What if we could all be happy together? I've talked it over with Mom. We can have a very private wedding, just for family, Draco said, planning with delight. No matter if I take the Malfoy name or the Potter name, my relationship with you both will never change, I promised. Greedy Aurora. Draco's lips curved. But this is the real you. Thank you both. The three of us held each other tightly. You too, why do you care so much about titles? I whispered, half complaining. Do you know how long I've been on edge? Draco and Harry exchanged a knowing smile. Aurora, no matter what decision you make, we promised long ago to support you 100%. We just wanted to see what you would choose. And you were acting so tense all this time. I realized belatedly, you were doing it on purpose for me. Of course, you really thought you could escape? Draco's arms locked around me like iron. Even your dress, we picked it together, Harry added. You too! They had kept me completely in the dark. It was infuriating. I even secretly listened to your thoughts. To calm their jealousy, I had agreed to quite a few unequal terms. Thinking about living through all this in the future made me groan and press my hand to my forehead. We were just getting you into character early, Draco said, tilting my chin slightly. He brushed a light kiss at the corner of my lips. Malfoy Mrs. sounds much better than Potter Mrs., he said proudly. In the Potter family tree, Aurora will bear the Potter name, and the heir of the Potter family can only be born from Aurora, Harry insisted firmly. Then we'll each rely on our own merits, I replied. Draco followed up with a sharp remark. Good heavens, it seemed this life of teasing, laughing, and arguing would stretch across my entire existence. Somehow, that didn't sound so bad. Our wedding preparations were proceeding in secret. Our choice was scandalously unconventional. We invited only Lucius, Narcissa, Abraxas, Tom, and the two godfathers of Draco and Harry, Snape and Sirius. Gellert had originally been on the list, but considering the special status of his partner, he chose to send his blessings remotely. Hermione Granger Hermione Crumb attended with her family. She was the only guest without any blood relation to us. Will it be a bit disappointing without the bouquet toss? Hermione joked, since all the ladies at the wedding were already married. Don't say that. I thought I married young enough. Who knew you? I embraced the Crumbs, who had traveled from Bulgaria just for our wedding. Victor said, you have to strike first. Hermione's hug was quick, and she carefully cradled her lower belly. You're pregnant? Already? That was fast. Did you forget? In Quidditch, once the seeker catches the golden snitch, the game ends. Victor is a world-class seeker, he understands that perfectly. The two guests were warmly welcomed. Don't look at me like that, Aurora. We just got lucky. Hermione's cheeks flushed. So when are you planning the wedding? Apparently, Victor couldn't resist after their graduation trip. Before her figure changes too much, Hermione shot him a side glance. He smiled apologetically, protecting his wife's lower back. I wanted her to rest at home, but she insisted she's stable enough for moderate exercise to build strength. Chapter 6, 114. You must be happy. I even suspect that Big Oaf secretly fiddled with things to get such a high hit rate, Hermione whispered in my ear, leaning on my shoulder. Why would you think that? I always planned to establish my career before dealing with personal matters, Hermione admitted, her face red. But now everything is delayed because of the little one inside me. She looked utterly dejected. Childbearing can be devastating for a woman's career. Physically, women are already at a disadvantage compared to men. Time that could be spent advancing professionally is redirected to caring for the family. How could one focus on a career? Perhaps times have changed, I said. In the original timeline, Hermione and Ron had 2 children and she still became Minister for Magic. With Muggle technology integrated into the wizarding world, Tom, as the current minister, encouraged remote work in the ministry, providing pregnant or postpartum women more flexible hours and locations, making it easier to balance work and family. My internship at the ministry hasn't been cancelled just because I'm pregnant. An official email from the Minister of Magic welcomed Hermione Crumb into the ministry. That's wonderful. Pregnant women's emotions can be volatile. Sparkling tears welled up in her eyes. I had planned to settle in Bulgaria, but now Hermione looked apologetically at her new husband. Chapter 6, 115. On the Road to Happiness. I can apparate. Distance isn't a problem, Crumb declared confidently. After years of practice, he could finally pronounce Hermione's name clearly and correctly. Crumb had shed his earlier awkwardness, growing more mature and steady. His devoted love for his wife had long made him immune to scandal. Aurora, thank you. Hermione quietly grasped my arm. There's no need to be so formal between us, I replied. She hesitated, then spoke softly. I once had a nightmare. In it, I married Ron Weasley and lived with him in a shabby house, arguing constantly, enduring the petty frustrations of marriage, until the little love we had left was completely exhausted. She shivered slightly. That certainly counts as a nightmare, I murmured. Truly a witch able to sense the fate and outcomes of another version of herself in a parallel world. As the saying goes, what you think about by day, you dream about by night, but Ron and I are worlds apart anyway, nothing connects us. Stop overthinking. I quickly draped a coat over her shoulders. After all, you two did work together for a time, it's not like you had zero contact. In that world, you weren't there and Draco and I were at odds, Hermione said hesitantly. Still, I think things are best as they are now. She gave me a radiant smile and adjusted my veil. Aurora, you look truly beautiful. I had long since changed into the wedding gown carefully chosen by Draco and Harry. Using their empathic bond, they had discovered my ideal gown well in advance. Even the dreamy wedding scene had been realized in reality. They stood opposite me, one in black, one in white robes, watching from afar. I linked arms with Lucius and walked step by step toward them. Narcissa, standing to the side, was already in tears. I could feel Lucius restraining the urge to comfort his wife, entrusting me to the two men instead. Aurora, you must be happy. I will, father. My voice trembled with emotion. Don't cry, Lucius patted my shoulder. If you keep crying, your makeup will run. Mom's crying too, I glanced at Narcissa watching from the side. Your mother is naturally beautiful and isn't wearing makeup, Lucius said, frowning as he took out a handkerchief to wipe the tears from my eyes. Your eyeliner's all smudged. You take after your mother, you don't need heavy makeup. Father, even on such a joyous day, he said something so disheartening. Sorry, Lucius apologized without sincerity. You take after Sissy, handing you over to another man, even if he's my son, I still. His gaze drifted into the distance. 20 years ago, your mother wasn't handed to me by grandfather. Following his gaze, I realized he was looking at Sirius Black. He stood awkwardly beside Narcissa, unsure what to do. He carefully offered a treasured handkerchief. Alphonse had been completely forgotten. The young man stared at Narcissa, now a tear-stained mess, and clumsily extended his hand. Aunt Sissy, don't cry, I'll here with you. Narcissa gently lifted Alphonse into her arms. Her gaze toward the boy was complex, impossible to read. Lucius looked like he was about to turn green with anger. If it weren't for the fact that he had to hand me over to Draco and Harry, I swear he would have wrapped Sirius and Alphonse up and shipped them straight back to 12 Grimmauld Place. We shouldn't have invited that foolish family, Lucius gritted out. Don't be like that. If it weren't for Uncle endorsing me and letting me carry the black name, how could I rightfully marry Draco? That's precisely why I can tolerate Alphonse's existence, Lucius snapped. Alphonse nuzzled comfortably in Narcissa's arms, shifting into a cozy position, almost asleep. Sirius watched Narcissa soothe Alphonse with practiced ease, and the love in his eyes was impossible to hide. Meanwhile, Lucius at my side looked terrifying. His gaze was so sharp it could have cut steel. Biologically, Alphonse was the child of Narcissa and Sirius. No wonder Lucius was so furious. Dad, Mom has absolutely no feelings for Uncle in that way. I know, Lucius interrupted. It's just that I didn't expect this impudent fellow to try using a child to guilt Sissy. Jealous, yet refuses to admit it, I muttered. Lucius, usually so calculating and composed, completely lost both IQ and EQ whenever Narcissa was involved. No wonder he always kept his wife close, guarding against any underhanded moves. And yet, no matter how vigilant, one cannot always defend against family betrayals. He escorted me to Draco and Harry, then stepped aside. Without hesitation, he took Alfred from Narcissa's arms. Miraculously, the boy didn't stir. He fussed a little, found a comfortable position in Lucius's embrace, and drifted back to sleep. Just like you, going with the flow. Lucius shot Sirius a meaningful glance. Sirius had spent over a decade in Azkaban. Not every environment suited him. The ever-fiery Sirius ignored Lucius's loaded words and gently poked his son's soft cheek. Chapter 6, 116. The Passing of Love. Your child is very well raised. Sirius nodded slightly in our direction. What? You want to leave Alfred at Malfoy Manor? The Black family is certainly capable of raising one child, Sirius said with a calm smile, even though he knew Lucius was deliberately baiting him. The Malfoys usually handle things in-house, Sirius teased. I wonder if Alfred will follow the same path. I never thought I'd sit here at peace with you, Lucius said with a sigh, soothing Alfred in his arms while looking at Sirius. I used to want to escape the constraints of my family, happily enjoying the benefits they provided without offering anything in return. It wasn't until Alfred came along that I realized just how ridiculously wrong I had been. Sirius gazed at Alfred's sleeping face, and the sharpness in his features softened. Orion already warned you of the benefits of early marriage and early parenthood, Lucius added, sounding like a retrospective strategist. I wasn't as lucky as you, growing up with Sissy and able to strike first, Sirius said with a sigh of relief. Can't believe after all these years, you still haven't given up. Lucius deliberately suppressed a smirk. What's there to be proud of? Sirius muttered. How could I not be? Lucius carefully handed Alfred to Sirius, then turned to pull his wife into his arms. Luke, today's spotlight belongs to Aurora. Narcissa peeked around discreetly. Fortunately, everyone's attention was on the newlyweds. Sissy, in my world, the spotlight has always been yours alone. Alfred pouted, tears clinging to his cheeks after being taken from Lucius's arms. You're a father and you can't even soothe your own child? Narcissa moved to take him, but Lucius intercepted. This little guy is heavy, and you're still in delicate condition. Let me handle it. His gaze flickered briefly over Narcissa's belly. Super Dad. Narcissa finally laughed through her tears. Alfred rested his head on Lucius's shoulder, drool trickling onto the man's bespoke suit. Sirius, gloating, said, I'll pay for it, no problem. This suit was custom-made with Sissy. There's only one in the world, Lucius murmured, careful not to wake Alfred. He looked genuinely wronged. We can make another set together, Narcissa comforted her husband. Sirius can cover the cost. You two really are a perfect match, Sirius said with a wry smile. Aurora's dress looks familiar, he added quietly. You noticed? It's based on Sissy's dress from back then, Lucius said proudly. Even after all these years, that sense of style hasn't aged, Narcissa said, gazing at my back with nostalgia. I turned subtly, our eyes meeting, conveying unspoken words. Grindelwald, serving as the officiant, stood before us. Aurora Malfoy, do you take Draco Malfoy to be your husband, to share in wealth and poverty, health and sickness, honor and peril, to remain faithful through all lifetimes, your fates forever entwined? He repeated the vow, this time replacing Draco with Harry's position.